Because you've got powerful legs. How did you get the physique? Was it gym or how did you get the physique?
I've always been...
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump. You know what I'm saying?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 559 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse, to be found as part of the Sports Social Network. Proud to be there. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, all the tubes, all the places. I bet it's even in spots that we haven't founded at this point in time. We're proud to be here this week with Steve Wellings, Andy Patterson. Few days removed from what was a Thursday night fight over here. We thought that everybody was going to have fun, but we didn't even get to Wang. We didn't even get to Chung. In what was an awful display in the main event, Teofimo Lopez unable to track down Jermaine Ortiz, who at times was doing his best Andre Durrell and blurring the lines between boxing and track sports. In what surprised many at the end, Lopez won a unanimous decision by a couple of scorecards that were decent and one really weird 117 to 111. I agreed with the judges who had it closer at 115 to 113, thinking when you land about an equal number of punches, one guy's coming forward, one guy is the champion, you got to do something. Steve, there's a big difference in piling up points in a negative fashion and in a positive fashion in boxing. And I know some people are bothered with this outcome, but I was fully unimpressed with Jermaine Ortiz. Just another instance, much like Danielito Zorrilla against Regis Prograis, where that time on the back foot just did not do enough to win the judges' approval.
That's an interesting take, Matty, actually. I hadn't thought of that, really, but you're absolutely right. Ortiz has sort of got away without getting too much flack, and it's all gone on Lopez. Very similar to the first point I was going to make, which is ban Thursday night fights. We saw Shakur Stevenson last time going through an absolute 12-round ball fest against Edwin De Los Santos, much like Ortiz. Well, nobody thought he'd won the fight for a start, De Los Santos, but he sort of came away unscathed a little bit with less flack than the winner, the A-side, the man who was supposed to do it. So, yeah, maybe shitting on Ortiz. I'm on board with that, Matty. I hadn't really thought about that before you mentioned it, though. What I do want to ask, though, is, or ask the listeners, anyone who's out there listening, a very few of you, no doubt, what is Lopez's actual style? I watch him these days and I thought, is he caught between styles? He seems to be locked in some kind of liminal state, which is very much like his mental condition, strangely enough. I have yet to be convinced that he's mentally stable. His father's certainly not mentally stable. There's all the talk of his son now. There's the talk he's found religion. He reckons he's found peace, but I don't believe him. And I don't say that as a glad thing either. I feel sorry for him.
Did he find the pyramids? That's what we want to know.
He's clearly struggling. in some shape or form. But yeah, I don't think he's mentally stable. And he showed that throughout the fight. His maturity, you have to question that after about round 5 or 6. He was growing increasingly frustrated at Ortiz's style. He wanted him to step inside and fight him. He was motioning to the crowd to sort of get on Ortiz's back and make him stand. And it just shows in this fight against Sandor Martin and against other guys in the past as well, the trouble he has with anyone who can move a bit. That style seems to give him trouble. If you don't stand with him, he struggles to work you out. And as a result, has he found his ceiling? Against Josh Taylor, it looked like he was back again. Taylor brought a particular style to the table. Lopez just can't cut the ring off very well. Technically, strategically, he seems to have plateaued. And in the end, Ortiz made him work, but he just ran too much to get over the line himself. He just ran and ran those last few rounds because he was tired. He tired against Lomachenko. He tired against Lopez. He wasn't able to stand and fight him. I thought 115, 113, as you referenced the scorecards, was fair to Lopez. 117, 111 wasn't representative of the action. Dominic Henry picked up on a point, and I noticed it myself. Just as Tessitore was praising Steve Weisfeld as the best judge in the business, giving the best, most consistent cards, he put in this 117, 111, which wasn't representative of the action at all. And I think everyone just leaves this Thursday night with more questions than answers. Where's Lopez's power gone? When was the last time he knocked somebody out? When was the last time he really hurt somebody badly at a decent level?
Taylor, he had Taylor all sorts of fucked up in that 12th round.
I know he was. I would.
And Taylor's a sturdy guy.
Yeah.
I think he is a puncher, but I think he's got to time you. He's got to find the right opportunity more so than just being an absolute banger. He's a timed shot guy. And yes, what kind of fighter is he? See, I think he's just an athletic, instinctual fighter. He's somewhere in skill level in between Roy Jones Jr. and Jean Pascal. I would venture to say closer to Jean Pascal at this point.
I'm going to say, I don't think he's anywhere near Roy Jones Jr.'s skill level.
But I get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying, stylistically and all that, but I think he's just caught between a load of styles. And yeah, he did hurt Taylor, to be fair, and that was a lot of people thought Taylor was going to be too big and too strong. And in the end, he was too static. He stood right in front of Teofimo and let him throw the heavy shots. Again, Dominic was saying about Teofimo against Subriel Matias. Matias is going to give anybody a hard night's work, but strangely enough, he might be a better stylistic match for Lopez than some of the other guys.
100%.
He's going to be standing there right in front of him. He's going to allow Teofimo to use his movement, his box punching skills to find the gaps in between Matias's shots a lot easier than someone like a Haney who's going to get on the jab and box absolute rings around him for 12 rounds. But, if Lopez can't annihilate people at 140 and he can't even catch them at times and hurt them, then I would fear for his future, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily caught between styles because you remember, I don't know anything before the fight, but his old man, they were talking to him, and or it might have been an interview on Boxing Scene or something. I don't know. All this shit runs together at the end of the day. But he was saying that he got too much into the idea of like having to jab, like every few seconds kind of thing. They might have even said that on the ESPN telecast. And so, and in this fight, they wanted to get away from that and let him get back to just trying to feel the fight out. Where if he would have used his jab, a good quick jab like the one he showed against Lomachenko, he would have been able to close off that door to his left-hand side a whole lot better. So I think the problem with the way that they're doing this, and I think this is a problem with training, is that his dad doesn't know how to meld all this stuff together. And I think in a sense you're right, like in the caught between styles, and it's not all or the other. There are some times that you shouldn't be using a lot of jabs based on where your opponent's moving and the positions they're finding themselves in. But there are times when you should double and triple the jab too. His dad doesn't get the nuance of the sport. He's just blessed with a supremely athletic kid with good instincts. And it's taken him very far, but much like Sandor Martin, I don't think it's everything bothers Teofimo Lopez, but a southpaw who knows how to exit to his own right and do it with a little check hook or a jab turning around the corner gives him all sorts of fucking problems.
Well, I mean, his dad is living vicariously through Teofimo. We mentioned before, how much nuance does he have? He's a very emotional, energetic guy, and I'm sure at a point he did have a positive impact on Teofimo, but I think that's waning now. But the problem is, you can't get rid of him, can he? They're in this kind of mutual Stockholm syndrome kind of relationship. I think getting rid of his dad would probably be even worse for both parties than keeping him on board at the moment. But his dad can't work with people either. Anyone with a bit of tactical expertise, as Rob mentions, Joey Gamache, perfect, former fighter, turning out to be a very good trainer at times, was bombed out of camp, so they can't work with anybody. So the Teofimos are going to have to work with each other and try and come up with something, I suppose. A couple of comments quickly there, Matty. I noticed Yimi Yappy said, "Is Lopez struggling sexually?" I don't think so, because it seems like the wife or the girlfriend is back on the scene, and she looked quite worried at ringside. I'm not sure whether it was the payday or the child maintenance, or she was actually worried about Lopez getting hurt. And Mark Wharton there says, "Can we just acknowledge how awful that Teo ring entrance was?" Which I will defer back to you, Matty, because it was your thinking that came up with the title for this week's show. So I take it you weren't too enamored with the ring entrance either.
I thought the ring entrance was great if you went in there and blasted him out. It's kind of like, like you can get away with coming to the ring on a magic carpet if you perform up to standard, right? And
Yeah,
like that's kind
and
of
fighters have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things after it's been done once, nobody should do it again. At that point, you're just a copycat. Just leave it to Naz. Don't even touch that.
Mm-hmm.
The homie Ryan Deal throwing in 10 of them New Zealand bucks there, which Steve is the freest nation on earth per the Cato Index's freedom for the National Freedom Index.
Absolutely. I was just about to say the same thing.
Yeah, they wonderful. He's thrown 10 of those very valuable New Zealand bucks in there. Says Damo's Oscar Photoshop has to win Bellew of the week. I hope that's uploaded, Steve.
Yep.
But Andy, Steve and I have been going on a little while here. I know we Lopez is just incredibly inconsistent. I like I said, I think there's something with Southpaws exiting a certain way. But then he fought Taylor, Southpaw, and he had all sorts of problems with it. Do you have questions about your fellow Scott and how much he has left after that? Or do you think just his willingness to exchange made it a worse stylistic matchup for Taylor?
For Taylor? You're talking about Ortiz, sorry?
Yeah, I'm talking about Lopez against Taylor. I kind of draw him back because, I mean, you look at all this that he did and the way he handled your boy. Does it bring more questions about the state of Taylor, or do you think it's just a style thing there?
There's probably a wee bit of both, but I also think as well as you've seen Lopez at his optimum peak. I think actually coming up in weight, mentally he seemed to have got himself right for that fight, at least anyway, considering how he boxed anyway. But I think what Steve said was pretty much correct. I think it's purely down to a matter of styles with Lopez. If he's got an opponent who's willing to engage, come at him, or try and stalk him, it kind of fits into his way of fighting. But if he's got to go looking for the guy, it's a different matter. As you've mentioned for the last 5 minutes, he just cannot cut off the ring. Whenever, okay, I mean, there's a bit bipolar kind of takes for what I've been reading the last couple of days. I mean, it's went from the ridiculous to the sublime. It's went from Ortiz has been robbed to like Lopez getting lucky at the end of the day. But as I say, it's a bit one of these. Ortiz has got enough ring generalship about him to get through fights and win fights and that, but it's not enough at that level. I don't think. If he'd been a wee bit more positive, probably had a wee bit more pop in his punches, I think he could have got the win. If he just approached it a wee bit differently, be a wee bit more aggressive and on the front foot, he could have got the decision. And if you look at some of those scorecards and that, they were quite close, and he could have on a different night. Again, it's a bit like that Clotty fight, isn't it? You think to yourself, Clotty's got up the pace here. He could definitely win this fight. This guy's gassed and he's tired of it. When he step it up, just either wouldn't or couldn't. It's simple as that. Maybe Ortiz was a bit wary of the check hooks for Lopez, worried about the power or whatever it was, but. Again, Lopez, it's just one of these type of bipolar type performances. He can be sublime, he can be poor, and then he can come a cropper. Talks about retirement. Again, I just think mentally he's just not in the right place. And we keep mentioning the dad and that as well constantly. I just think one of the worst things I did was get rid of Joey Gamache, someone with kind of like fresh tentacle nous coming in from the outside and that hasn't really got an agenda as such. And that he's just trying to do the best for his fighter. When you get families and that involved, it's a bit differently. And of course, you've got that type of, dynamism where you've got this guy who's the main breadwinner of the family, and he's probably upkeeping and a fair bit of the family as well. You think about it, so you just don't know what kind of other pressures he's facing at this point. I didn't see the wife there actually. To be fair, that was news to me, but maybe she's there for having the wee man there. But again, we'll just need to see what it's going to be like in the next fight. To be fair, mate, it could be a matter of mentality, looking down on the opponent possibly. Maybe he needs the bigger fights to kind of get the fear factor into him. Who knows? But was not a good fight.
Let's look at this, Andy, and this is something that just as I was watching this, it just like bewildered me. And I think of other recent fights when they're completely voluntary and they're top-ranked fighters like Ramirez against Espinoza and things like that. The matchmaking at Top Rank has gotten really fucking shitty, and they're not doing well by their fighters. They're not doing well by their fans. I feel at times they're just putting like close weight classes together and grabbing names from a fishbowl and saying, we'll put this guy in with this guy. Da, da, da. And it created an awful fight, an awful stylistic matchup for Lopez against the things that he doesn't like. So like Andy, I kind of wonder, are they just getting absolutely shit when it comes to matchmaking at Top Rank, or was Bob trying to fuck over Lopez because he's sick of his shit?
Could be a bit of both as well, to be fair. Well,
is he still that conniving at his age? I wonder.
I don't know, listen, if you get older, mate, the chances are you get more bitter as you get older, this. But at the end of the day, it's we've mentioned Top Rank before. Some of the quality control has been poor. The 10-rounders, we mentioned this when it should be 10-round title fights for lesser titles when it should be 12-round affairs. You had Keyshawn Davis fight. Okay, it's a decent win, but that guy's been dragged down in a weight division for that fucking beating. You know what I'm saying? Clearly just to give the guy a bit of a show, give him a bit of leg up. But some of the fights have been put on, some of the cards have been put on recently in the last 18 months have been pretty shoddy in that as well. And you think about it, just trying to think outside. I mean, obviously Inouye's over in Japan exclusively now. Fury's kind of coming toward the end. Taylor's kind of semi-what done. Just trying to think of Top Rank's top-end fighters here that we've got.
He still has Luis Alberto Lopez, and Lopez against Espinoza, if they can end up getting into that one, is a banging-ass Mexican fight.
Yeah, but he's not a high-end name. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to think of kind of like top-end stars.
I think that fight could create a name. I think
Lopez.
It's Lopez against Espinoza, and that's whoever wins. If it's an entertaining fight between these guys, and whether it's Lopez with his awkward style catches him and knocks him out, or this 6-foot fucking freak of nature featherweight comes on the scene kind of like Fedora was and just like, wow, look at that guy. Either way, I think that fight could create a star. I got a feeling.
I don't know if it'll be a big enough fight, mate, to kind of create an A+ star that Bob can put on pay-per-view, to be fair.
I don't know if it's pay-per-view yet, but it would be getting close to the building blocks. Espinoza being a very young fighter, too. He's 22 or 23, I thought, maybe. Maybe I'm a little on the low end. But you got to think that much time to build him up. Munguia almost got to pay-per-view star. Benavidez just got there. There's plenty of room, man. I'm telling you, the Mexican audience, or at least his broad Hispanic audience, is really what drives boxing in the United States. That audience, they're the ones who ultimately call the shots by what they want.
Yeah. Well, as for Lopez, again, I think he's mentioned Matias. I think that would be the ideal fight if we can get that one across the line. I think that would be ideal style-wise for Lopez as well. Definitely one of those type of fights that will get dragged into the trenches. But I think that's where you'll see the best of Lopez. I think he'll fight with that fear factor. He'll be on his jab more. He will be moving far better. I think he'll frustrate the hell. It'll be like a kind of roles reversed. I think if you stand in the pocket with Matias and let him kind of tee off and that, he will eventually wear you down. But if you've got the speed, you've got good timing, I think Lopez would do the business against him. Actually, if he can get everything set like he did against Taylor, I think he could do the business against Matias.
I'd love to see that fight.
So would I.
In New York as well, Puerto Rico against Teofimo. I think it'd be class. And if Matias really put it on Teofimo, we don't know if he's going to melt down, because the more I think of Lopez against Taylor now, and I'm pretty sure I said this at the time, I think Lopez grew in confidence. I think he was low on confidence going into that fight. He expected a really tough fight. everybody that I was listening to, ourselves included, were mostly picking Taylor to win. And I think as the fight unfolded, Lopez grew in confidence. I thought, hang on a minute, I'm Teofimo Lopez here. This guy's he's either weight drained or his timing's off. Taylor didn't look himself that night. He just grew in confidence and grew in confidence. And it was the reverse against Ortiz. He started off confidence and he started losing it as Ortiz moved on him. And he's very much a confidence fighter, Teofimo.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't think this time that his confidence seemed as damaged as it did after the Martin fight, Steve. He basically he was quite vocal about the fact that Ortiz was just running and he fully felt that he won the fight. You remember, like, there are times he backed into the corner just like, come on, motherfucker, I'm tired of chasing you. So I think mentally he'll handle this one a little bit better. But you kind of wonder, is that a positive or a negative for him? Because does he need those naysayers to spur him on?
Yeah.
I don't know.
When he's the favourite and he's the man, he's the showman. Some people revel in that, don't they? Coming out to the big carnival atmosphere and I'm the man, look at me. I think it might have a detrimental effect on him, to be honest. He seems to operate better as the underdog, in some cases.
Yeah, and that some people just do operate better from that side of things. I don't know. It's just hard to pin Lopez down, isn't it? There's so much there, but I think there is something missing. He's got a great right hand, might be missing a little bit on the left hook. I'm just going through the WBO rankings here and seeing what's going on. So
you got Jose Ramirez there.
Yep, Barboza, Ramirez.
Matias is Matias no PBC?
He has and he's got a championship.
He's the IBF champion, and Ramirez is now signed with Golden Boy, so that makes that fight sort of off the table.
And Ramirez is with Golden Boy now too.
That's what I meant, Ramirez. Yeah, sorry.
You got Richardson, Hitchens. You got Richardson, Hitchens, or the WBA could do the right thing and call Castro as a mandatory.
Well, Hitchens is fighting some guy. Lemos, is it? I think in March.
Yeah, Lemos, I think, was the guy that beat the snot out of Lee Selby.
Oh yes, that's right. I forgot about him. Right enough, yeah.
And I think he was ranked at 135, but he couldn't make the weight anymore. If I was recalled, so he bumped up.
Good spot, yeah.
I think he had to wait around for fucking ever for a title shot, and it took him another weight class up. So
I tell you who's went right off the radar since he got beat, actually. Prograis.
It's only been a couple of months though, hasn't it?
Yeah, but usually, one thing he didn't do when he got beat with Sonny Edwards was hide. He was back in the media. He was congratulating this, all that type of stuff. Rodriguez and good fighter, great fighter, all that type of stuff. Prograis just went right off the reservation, and there's no signing him.
So now you got Sandor Martin behind him. A rematch, that would be, God, he'd hate that. Yeah. Jack Catterall, Elvis Rodriguez.
Steve Claggett.
Steve McComb is behind him there.
Harlem Eubanks ringing up with number 14.
I'll tell you what. Steve Claggett is, you can make that fight because Top Rank does a lot of work with Eye of the Tiger.
You can make it, but it's nothing that's going to interest any of us, mate, to be fair. You know what I'm saying? It's just a keep busy fight for Lopez, that one.
And I'll tell you what, credit to Golden Boy and Matchroom. They have a shit ton of the talent right there because you look at all those, and a lot of those names are with them. Liam Perro, that's a guy who really deserves a chance.
He's supposed to be fighting Matias, isn't he?
Really?
Yeah, that's what I heard. And I think Dominic said the same thing. I read that somewhere. Yeah.
Dude, that guy can fucking bang. Like, I wouldn't write him off
till he gets retired on his stool.
He's no banging out Matias anyway. Put it that
Matias, his last 5 opponents have all been retired, man, for fear of death. I mean, the guy is an absolute monster, isn't he?
Guy's already got one body on his record.
Exactly.
The one thing you got to think about, though, with that is the fact that Perro can absolutely punch, and the first couple rounds, at least, Matias kind of warms into it, and if you move around him a bit, he can be caught. Like, I would think that if somehow Perro wins that fight, it would be a KO within the first 3 rounds before you even give Matias a chance to,
I just worry
to get moving.
that we're not going to see the best of Matias because they're going to put him in all these kind of 50-50, 60-40 fights against bangers. Ponce 30-0, Ergashev 25-0, whatever he was, Batajan, Jukambayev 18-0. All these undefeated guys, Matias is destroying them one after another. And by the time he gets to fight anybody decent, he's going to be shop worn to shit, man, because he's going to be a 30-year-old going around in an 80-year-old's body.
Paro was a guy. Was he the one that's Ice Brock Jarvis?
Yes, he was, yeah.
Yeah, and he just beat Montana Love too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But Montana Love was a disgrace in that fight. He didn't even want to even be there, man.
He'll go to war with Matias. That's what I'm saying. Matias, he's going to have a short shelf life, isn't he? Because he's just going to crack at some point. You know, he can't have that style constantly against everybody.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, kind of like Margarito against Mosley. When it was over, it was just fucking over.
Yeah. I love Matias. I think he's class.
Tell you something, I don't think I ever had a chance to talk with you guys about. I don't know if it happened, was back on the show or not, but Margarito's last fight against the last fight he had against what's his name? Fought Kell Brook and gave a really good effort. Journeyman. American.
Oh, Carson Jones?
Yes. Carson Jones got fucking robbed in that fight, and they definitely pulled the strings to get Margarito out of there. He had a cut, and I think it was from a punch, but they said it was from a headbutt, and Jones was just starting to work him over. And yeah. Anyway, if you get a chance, watch that one. It was actually pretty fun while it lasted, but it was just a little under the radar when Margarito was trying to come back.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Anyhow, so what's next for Teofimo Lopez? I don't know. My guess is something tremendously dramatic. Down the undercard.
Probably another fake retirement or something like that.
You never know. Him and Stevenson can be retired together, go hang out on the beach. Steve, last week, as Rob was opining that he thought that Pedraza might be the guy to give Davis a hard time, I brought in that, Pedraza hadn't made 135 in quite some time, and that could play a difference. But there's something that we didn't think about, Steve. Davis gave up the ganja. He said, that is why I won in such impressive fashion. Thank God for helping me to put down the pipe. Praise be, Steve. Praise be.
Praise be indeed. Yeah, usually I take these things with a pinch of salt. He says, I'm going to be the best I've ever looked. I've put down the pipe now. I'm not going to be on the marijuana anymore. And I thought, yeah, right. But to be honest, the words and the performance kind of correlated with each other because I thought Davis looked superb, to be honest. In context, your point last week, I credited you on it as well. And it turned out to be absolutely correct. Pedraza hadn't made that weight in about 4 years, and he looked like somebody who's just at the end of the road, as Andy said earlier, and a lot of hard fights. He's a good fighter. It's caught between two styles as well. I just think he picked the wrong one. Instead of stepping off and trying to let the jab go here and there, he got in Keyshawn's face, but he was in range without really being able to land too many shots, and Davis just picked him off shot after shot, looked fast, looked accurate. I thought he looked really, really good, and they just picked Pedraza at exactly the right time. Weight drained, over the hill. He's going to go on that sort of top-ranked merry-go-round now with Christopher Diaz and Richard Comey and all these other washed-up guys. Beltran back in the day was the same. They're just going to keep recycling him. He'll probably go in with, I don't know, someone like Albright or Carrington. I know they're not the same weights, but someone of that nature next and gently before he retires. But Pedraza's been a very good fighter over the years, always been tough. I never forget the 10th round or 11th round against Lomachenko. He took an absolute shelling and came back for more and managed to get through the fight. And the fact that Gervonta Davis did such a good job on him back in the day and absolutely battered him and knocked him out shows Davis's class, I think, and his punching power. And I thought Keyshawn, it was probably the most impressive performance since then, albeit with the context, as we mentioned, of the weight and that. But afterwards, I thought it was interesting when they said, what's going to be next? And he kind of blindsided with a Navarrete. A lot of respect for Navarrete, he said, I'd love to fight him next. And as we've said before, Matty, as with the Oshaquie Foster Abraham Nova fight, which is coming next week, there's no accidents with Top Rank. Very interesting that Keyshawn threw out Navarrete's name. He wouldn't have just thought of that. Someone's whispered in his ear. There's been a bit of talk about him saying that. There's a reason he mentioned Navarrete. Do not be surprised if they look to make something like that in the very near future, I think. Very interesting call out. But as for Keyshawn, in the past, I've sort of been a bit hit and miss on him. But if you get the right opponent at the right time like that, who does the right things, Keyshawn can absolutely shine. I thought he looked really good.
Yeah, it was definitely a strong performance from Davis. He really needed one after that Nahir Albright thing. I mean,
Yeah.
no contest or not, it was a very close fight and one where he did just look lackluster. So, I mean, maybe this did give him a hand by kicking the ganja. I'm not. It's definitely not a performance enhancing drug, which would be my argument for banned substance for what fucking reason. I'm sure your opponent wants you to come into the ring stoned. They give a shit, right? But Davis looking really strong there. Obviously there's some options for him next. God knows what dumb thing that Bob might put him in there with. But Andy, you got to wonder when it comes to Davis if he's going to be like Lopez, where it's just hot and cold. I mean, we'll see what's in the future there, but that's the tough thing. And at 135 pounds, like, you can't be hot and cold. If you're a title holder around there or seeking it's killers in that division, just killers everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at some of the names: William Zepeda, Isaac Cruz. Guys like that could seriously damage him if he's not in his A game. I agree with Steve. I mean, he looked far better than what I've seen him in, to be fair, but he's a far touched upon it. I mean, Pedraza, a long, hard career, coming down in weight and that as well, first time in many years. And he was in big trouble just right for the very start. Especially those left hooks that Davis was landing. Even in the clinch, he was strong, quick with the shots, very, very good footwork. I remember very early in the first or the second round, used some good footwork to even catch Pedraza on the coming in. So yeah, definitely it seems like the weight was 100% a factor in that fight. Age as well, as we mentioned. Done nothing, offered nothing as well. Just basically target practice. That's basically how it turned out in the end. Still an okay win though. So, but needs to face something even more competitive, I think. I mean, especially when he's now ranked the top 10 with some of the bodies, so he's he could easily get picked out of the fold really to become a challenger for a belt somewhere along the line. But I think now is the time he needs to start looking at somebody, someone in the top 10, top 15. Me and Steve maybe watched some of that Russian card yesterday. I think maybe the ideal opponent might be that Abdullaev for Russia, possibly.
Yeah,
Just
like, how
about
are
to
they
say
going
the
to make
same
that
thing.
happen? How are they going to make that happen?
Yeah, I know
That's
Max
a really good shout, Andy. I was going to say the same thing. Obviously, the politics is involved and the national and all that. But you see, since he's Haney lost, Abdullaev's rebounded. Looks really good boxer.
Yep, came back pretty strong as well. We had Roger Gutierrez. I think he lost in Russia there last night as well. That's who he lost to. Obviously, it was Abdullaev.
Yeah.
So you got Maxi Hughes. I think Maxi Hughes has got a fight lined up, so maybe takes him out the frame just now. But there is some opponents there that he could face. But there's, as you said, Matty, there's a couple of killers there as well that he could maybe want to just basically swerve until that time he does maybe get a title fight.
Here's a question for you guys, and it's kind of pretty broad. Would you be shocked if Davis finds his way onto the Lomachenko-Kambosos undercard for them to try to make Lomachenko against Keyshawn Davis back stateside end of the year?
Nah, I think that'd be too soon, I think, for Davis at this point, to be fair. I mean,
depends how Loma looks, maybe, doesn't it, I suppose?
It's a fast...
yeah, it's 3 months and he didn't get touched in that fight.
Maybe him against Davis against Kambosos once Lomachenko runs rings around him. That might be more of a serious chance.
I think Kambosos is done if he loses this fight. I think he's taken enough L's and he's gotten enough good paydays.
Not necessarily for someone of Davis's. If they got a win in between, say he loses to Lomachenko, which we're all assuming he probably will do, and he looks half decent, gets another win in between, then you could see them top rank trying to serve him up to Davis, maybe.
But we've also said Kambosos has looked like fucking ass at the weigh-ins at 135.
Oh, he's dead at the weight.
Is he going to hang at 135?
That's a good point, actually. That's a good point. It'd be the perfect excuse as well if he loses to Lomachenko now to say, I've been skilling myself all these years, mate. I'm going to move up fresh start at 140. That's like a built-in narrative almost.
Well, the one I can think of would be the Ukrainian. Is it Baranchik? But again, he's well up in age and he's got one of those records undefeated. I know, but again, you look at the record. It's no bitching with like top end names. Yeah,
that's a good fight though, and that's a totally different look. I mean, he's not Lomachenko, he's not Usyk, but he's from that 2012 class, and he has real footwork.
I tell you who else they might look at as well: Shuichiro Yoshino, who got shoe shine by Shakur back in the day. They might look at him. He has previous form. He's fought Masayuki Aito, who's appeared on top rank cards. He's fought Masayoshi Nakatani, who's appeared on top rank cards, and he's also fought Shakur Stevenson. I think, and he's ranked number 6 on BoxRec. I'm not sure where he is in the sort of top 10 rank. I don't know why he's so high. The fact that he lost to Stevenson in April. Someone like him they could bring over.
That was beautifully said. Yoshino Hushushan Shakur. That's a real bitch. It's like that. Sally selling the seashells.
I was ready to say, like, it's like Pete the Piper. We went to pick of peppers, whatever you call it. Yeah.
Man, well done, Steve. Well done.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, Davis. I mean, there's options, but man, I'm telling you, Top Rank's matchmaking has been weird lately. You know, and you say there's no accidents. I think maybe there's malice in some of these picks, but they're really like losing good fighters to some voluntary defenses. It's not good.
Someone just mentioned in the chat there. Obviously, again, they're going to mention the potential rematch in the pros. The Andy Cruz fight again, because you got the cross rivalry with the promotions. Again, I don't think that fight happens unless it's a meaningful fight.
No chance.
Something's got to be on the line for that. It's got to be a belt of some sort.
Cruz has had 2 fights. He's been built into a star by DAZN and Eddie Hearn. Keyshawn's had 10 fights. He's been built into a star by Top Rank and Bob Arum. No chance in hell they put them two together.
I'll tell you, a great style match, and you could see it at the end of the year if kind of things come to pass. But if Andy Cruz keeps winning and William Zepeda is successful against Maxie Hughes, I think you could see Zepeda and Andy Cruz at the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting style.
Zepeda against Maxie Hughes, probably.
I want to see Zepeda against. I would like to see Zepeda against anybody, actually, to be fair. That guy can bang.
Sorry, I meant Cruz against Hughes, not Zepeda against Hughes.
Oh, sorry.
No, that was me. I misspoke. I meant Cruz against Hughes, sorry. If he loses to Zepeda, which I think he will.
You think that... I think they're thinking they're going to surpass the Maxie Hughes level at that point in time. And I don't...
Possibly.
Do you think Hughes is willing to be brought in as an opponent like that again either? I mean, that the whole Cambosis fiasco was goofy.
The money's right.
The money's right, he will. This is a guy who had about 6 losses and was just on the way out at British title level, and then he's kind of absolutely rebuilt his career to the point that he beat Cambosos. Everybody fucking saw it on TV, apart from the 3 judges, or 2, whichever ones.
COVID years were really good to him, by the way.
Yeah. No, it's fair play to him, man. He's built himself up with experience, and he's come back time and time again. He got absolutely shafted against Cambosos. That was a terrible decision. Anyway,
well, you don't understand. I mean, going into the Lopez and Ortiz fight on Thursday, so you have one guy on the back foot doing his thing like that, and he loses. And then you have Hughes, who does it far better than Ortiz did, and he still loses. You have Dalakayan, who I think did the best back foot of the bunch, and then he lost in Japan with that 119-109 score. Like, nothing about this judging shit makes any fucking sense.
That was that Canadian judge, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Oh, your mate Jeremy, wasn't it? Jeremy.
Aye, that's the one. That's the one.
What an odd fucking sport. Anyways, let's work our way down that undercard. I don't know how much of everything everybody caught here. A nice little upset victory for Rene Telez-Giron, taking out George Acosta by unanimous decision, dropping him in the 5th round. Giron, real awkward fighter. Acosta, not much of a puncher. And he worked him over pretty well there. Nice little upset there for Giron, paying better than 2-1. That was nice.
And the bird, Matty, don't forget about the bird. There it is on screen.
Bird, yeah. It just, there it was. It made its way into the casino. So, you had that going for you, which is fun. Abdullah Mason looking fantastic in the 2nd round stoppage of Benjamin Gourmet. Steve, this one, he stopped, he dropped Gourmet pretty hard. Gourmet got up, the referee let it go on a bit longer. One little soft touch jab for Gourmet, and just around the fucking guard with that left went Mason. Flat on his fucking face went Gourmet. I couldn't help but laugh my ass off because I knew it looked like Gourmet was fine. But what a finishing shot there by the 19-year-old hot prospect Abdullah Mason.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Mason. I think he's absolutely classy. He's only a young guy, but he's just maturing into such a nice boxer as much as anything else. And at the end of it, he just knocks people out almost accidentally. He's trying to get the rounds. He's trying to box them, but he can't just help smashing people up. And I do feel sorry for Benjamin Gament because he didn't come to lie down. Well, apart from when he was getting laid down right at the end there, but the dude actually came to fight. He was a decent enough southpaw. He came to have a go. He wanted to rumble with Mason. Didn't just want to get his paycheck, but it just completely backfired on him. And I saw him. I think it was at the end of the first round. I just spotted his face all of a sudden up against the ropes, and it looked like he'd been involved in a car crash, man. It was all smeared and welted and bloody and cut. And I thought, flip me, man, he looks like he's been through the ring already, this fella. He's no way he's going to last the 8 rounds. And in the next round, as you said, Mason just uncorked an absolutely beautiful shot. If they can keep him level-headed and grounded, which he seems to be, doesn't seem to be a smack-talking dickhead. He seems to be a nice level-headed kid, and I think the absolute sky is the limit, man. I know people can tail off, and sometimes the fighters who look the 100% prospects at this kind of age and this stage of their career might not make it, and then the guys who maybe didn't look so good come through. We often have that in boxing, but at the moment, if he can keep improving under this trajectory, I think he's going to the absolute top, mate, and I think he's brilliant star power.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Andy, did you happen to see this one?
I didn't, mate. No, I didn't catch any of the rest on the card apart from the two top fights.
We're worth 5 minutes of your time. You could just to follow a really good prospect there.
Abdullah Mason. Oh, I know about him. I didn't catch the fight though. I know Steve's been high on the kid for a number of months.
Number of months, yeah, he's 19. Couldn't have been that long. Javier Martinez winning a close decision over Rahul Solomon. Actually, wasn't that close. So Solomon did a pretty good job coming forward. Martinez keeping that undefeated record intact. Steve, this is what I was more excited about. If you kind of go down on the performances that I saw on the card, and this is where it stopped for me. I didn't catch the 3 prior to this. But Charlie Sheehy taking out Abdel Saceda. Or excuse me, that one went to a decision, but he is so freaking sharp, and Saceda just takes a good punch. He took a wicked shot in that one, and there are a lot of times that you just thought he's got to go down, and he wouldn't. Sheehy, if you want to see a guy who fights well off the back foot, I was just super impressed with this kid.
Yeah, I was impressed with him as well. I know I said last week he was kind of a bit left, right. I do think a certain style will give him trouble later on, but his jab was absolutely sharp. I think as the fights go on, he does tend to not lose focus, but as any fighter does, kind of wears down a bit. And what he's doing, people are able to time it a little bit, and he was falling in at times and get caught with the odd shot here and there. But it's a boxing match, you're going to get punched hard in the face often.
He did get caught. I think he got hurt at one point in time in that fight by a little bit of a looping shot around the guard. But that's the great thing about these development fights. You're like, oh, shit. Kind of teaches you a little bit more discipline even in moments where you think you're in absolute control.
Yeah, no, I think his jab was fantastic, and he's definitely one for the future. How far he will go, I'm not sure, but he does bring a crowd, and he seems to be a good-looking kid, so fair play to him. I'll try and say what I can remember on the undercard. Sometimes the undercards you can remember fight by fight, but this one was a bit melded into one. It was hard to distinguish the fighters between each other. Art Barrera Jr. was definitely impressed with him. He's 3-0 with 3 KOs, 18 years of age. Absolutely iced his opponent, Michael Portales, and not to be confused with Michael Portillo. He was good. Alan Garcia, 11-0. Oh, yeah, I think his mom was in the corner of him, Kid Kansas. He got a KO win as well.
That's the guy. I saw him on the Crawford undercard.
Right, yeah, he looks decent as well. He looks decent. And Antonio Zepeda, he's a big heavyweight from Las Vegas. He lost. He's 6'6". He's a bit, he looks the package, but he lost to this kind of jobber, Lamia Isom Riley. They were getting the big build up. He works in the morning, goes to the gym in the morning, works all day, goes to the gym at night. He's one of these guys who's trying to make his way in the sport, and he just outlasted Zepeda. Zepeda didn't like getting hit. They were saying he had a bad knee and etc. I think he just got absolutely worn down. Not sure that this sport is for him. And fair play to Riley. He's 4-2 now, but yeah, there were some decent performances on the undercard. Definitely some bangers, but it wasn't the most memorable of top rank undercards. But I did watch it from start to finish. So yeah.
Well done, Steve.
Thank you.
A pro's pro, if there ever was one.
Sad bastard.
Well, yeah, I think all of us have moments that we don't, we shouldn't be particularly proud of. Anyhow, in a fight where I thought, if this guy has anything left, going in against a taller fighter who's seemed to succumb to or have a little bit of a vulnerability to some more looping shots. I was thinking, hey, Liam Williams could give Hamzah Sheeraz a rough night. No, Andy, he couldn't. One round, absolute demolition job. Everything he threw seemed to hurt Williams. I think that this, you got to kind of rate this one the same way you rate Pedraza win for Keyshawn Davis. It's, you didn't see enough for it to matter because there's just nothing left of that fighter, at least at that weight.
Yeah, well, again, you didn't really want to kind of dump on Sheeraz at the end of the day. I mean, he's got a job to do, and he's done that. You know, you can't ask for any more. Stop your opponent in one round, drop him twice. But again, I think I've said it before. Liam Williams has been a very good fighter. You know, especially at domestic level. Against Andrade, he did the best what he could. He got dropped obviously early in the fight. He took a shellacking and seen out the final 12 rounds. Same against Eubank, he took a complete beating in some of those rounds. Got dropped a number of times, and that was probably maybe his last big performance. Possibly, and even then, he says he got dropped a number of times. It's sad to see. I mean, at the end of the day, his corner's been with him for I don't know how many years, to be fair, and that. So they know the guy, they know what they're dealing with. I just think he's done now. To be honest, I mean, retire now. Obviously, I think Sheeraz would benefit if he got up to European fringe world level at this point. Nothing really much else to prove, I don't think, really, at that level. So really, can I really step up in class really required for him now, really, at this point, because 24, 25, I think he is at that right age now. We should maybe kind of get that chance to step up now as well, because I think he could be ready. Long jabs and stuff like that as well. Really good power about. Really looked a lot to like about him as well. So interesting times for the kid, I must admit.
Yeah, he's on the come up. Obviously, there's some decent fights that could be made potentially. You never know when it comes with them mixing cards and stuff over there. We'll see what happens, but. Again, Steve, tough to tell when your opponent's a bit seems to appear washed. What you could do there, but what do you see for the future of Hamzah Sheeraz? I mean, at the very least, he's definitely a puncher.
Oh yeah, I see a bright future for him. To be honest, I think he puts his shots together really well. I said last week I thought he would knock out Williams. The fight went the way I thought it would, but I thought it would go a few rounds more. So around the 5th or 6th round, he would suddenly start to hurt Liam Williams, but it just happened way sooner. I know people pointing to the Bradley Skeet fight and the fact that he was troubled with Skeet's movement, and in the end it was a bit of a controversial finish with him hitting him on the floor and that, but he's improved a lot since then. That fight with Francisco Emmanuel Torres, I think, was a good one. He got dropped in that, had to learn a lot, and he just outlasted Torres and broke him down. And then the last one, people were picking Dmitro Mitrofanov to maybe give him a bit of trouble, but he was just way too short and way too small, and Sheeraz absolutely punched through him. They must have known Williams was in this kind of condition. He just looked like he could not hold a shot whatsoever. Every time he was touched, even with the jab, he was standing in range, getting caught with that uppercut as well. He just had absolutely nothing to offer, and Sheeraz put him to the sword. And people won't remember the state that Williams came in a few fights' time. It'll just be on BoxRec that he knocked out Liam Williams in a round. The same Williams that went the distance with Andrade. The same Williams that got knocked down by Eubank so many times and went the distance. Sheeraz on paper has absolutely blasted him, but as Michael Thompson says there, Father Dave would smash Williams out nowadays. He's a priest, you know. Shout out to Father Dave. It's his 63rd birthday, I think. I'm on his I'm on his Flock newsletter. I get his newsletter every week, so there's some biblical inspiration from Father Dave coming my way, and it's his birthday this weekend. If anybody wants to celebrate it with him in Sydney, I can't remember where he's going, but shout out to Father Dave. I'm not sure where this.
I'll tell you what.
Going.
I bet you. I bet you, if anything, Father Dave would say, give a couple of, if you want to do something for Father Dave, give a couple of bucks to a youth boxing program in his name. That'd make Father Dave happy, I bet you.
Absolutely, it would. Shout out to Father Dave. He's doing a lot of good work, the Lord's work, some would say. Shout out to Thomas Smith as well, who sent this message to our nuthousepodcast@gmail.com email earlier. I'll read it for you, Matty, to save your eyes. I should have made it a bit bigger, to be honest.
God bless, I have a small screen.
Anyway, Thomas sent this in earlier, and it's very topical. He says, pretty simple, really. If I were to fight Hamzah Sheeraz, I'd stay at the edge of his quick, powerful jab and avoid moving my head. Lure him in with my perfectly human chin, then do a wee jig whenever he touched it. Seems like a solid plan, right? Williams was never going to do what Skeet did for sure, but that was a fairly surprising approach. Hats off to Sheeraz all the same. Is Thomas Smith's rather ironic assessment there. So I thought that was quite good. But yeah, Williams just stood in range. Matty, I'd be interested to hear what you thought of the performance. I noticed there one of the guys in the chat, Abdul Rahim, was saying Sheeraz versus Liam Smith or Chris Eubank Jr. Possibly, yeah, Liam Smith would be a good one. I think Nathan Heaney's the British champion at the moment. Frank might want to keep them apart at the moment, but maybe Denzel Bentley perhaps. But what do you make of Sheeraz? Do you see him as a blue chip prospect?
I think there's a lot to like there, obviously. It's just a question of getting in there with the right opponents to prove it. He does seem to be like one of those, kind of lankier fighters that could definitely be vulnerable to some over the top shots. So you kind of wonder how his chin's going to fare, putting him in with a shorter, stockier puncher. But I kind of feel like he needs one more fight kind of in between the levels you're talking there. I don't know who that person might be on your domestic scene. I can't kind of think of anyone off the top of my head, but I feel like there's one more that he needs before that. And after that, give it a rip and see, because you also have to consider the fact that if he is the type of prospect that you believe him to potentially be, are the promoters going to want to use some of these names and risk some of the money that they think that they could make off of them still? Tough call.
Yeah, no, that is a good point, actually. And AP as well, they're saying there's got to be something more serious than just punch resistance gone with Williams. You'd maybe think so, given how quickly Gary Lockett came in with the tail, although he was dancing about all over the place. Des says, why doesn't Hamzah fight Zach Chele, as I've heard him pronounced in other places? Chris Butler said that's UK hype, mate. Sheeraz will do well to win a world title. M. Lithgow says, I've never known someone's punch resistance deteriorate as bad as Williams. Fight Denzel, I mentioned him as well. Will he stay at middleweight there, says number one? I just think there's some interesting ones here, Matthews. I'm just flicking through them quickly. Thomas Newman says, just still can't get past his performance against Skeet. And then he qualifies that by saying, wouldn't fancy his chances against a mover or a switch hitter, Johnny Beck, etc. And that is the glaring thing as well, Matthew, on his resume. If we look down after Skeet, Jez Smith, kind of domestic level guy, Torres, tricky, but sort of came with the hands forward. River Wilson bent, domestic level guy. Mike Trafanov as well, short, stocky puncher. Williams, domestic. He hasn't fought a mover since, so maybe those ghosts haven't been exercised just yet.
Just on that, see, Terry Atlas was shitting on UK fighters saying they didn't measure up when they're in the States. I've got his quote here, actually. UK fighters, guess what? I know this is not going to endear me to the great fans across the pond, but they're overrated. Listen, there are exceptions, I get it. They're terrific over there across the pond, but then when they stepped up, I hate to say it, over here, but it kind of was over here with the top echelon of guys outside of that area. Guys, what they came up against were, they came up short. It goes in peaks and troughs, to be fair. It was less than 5-6 years ago that Britain had something like, was it 15, 16 world titleists at one point?
Yeah. About 14 odd, wasn't there? Because they were naming them and then they started disappearing one by one.
They started falling apart because we had James DeGill at one point. You had George Groves.
Well, and if you look at the way that the way that they do it, oftentimes over there is they'll get like your common top 10 European guy for them to run over, or they'll do a domestic fight once someone gets a title and do round and round and round like they've done they'll do with Lee Wood and Warrington and other fighters. So it's I don't know. He's got a point, but I think it's tough. Like I think most people who get to a title level aren't. I'm not going to say they're not special because they're obviously very good fighters, but you don't have to be at this certain level that some people think you need to win a title in boxing. We've seen plenty of substandard titleists in our time of watching the sport.
I think you talk about overrated. I mean, there goes some peaks and troughs. You can see with your own eyes if a fighter's overrated or not, or whether he deserves an opportunity. I asked Terry Atlas, like we were just talking about Maxie Hughes. Did he deserve to win against Kambosos or not? With that, the fact is that he's got an L on his record, does that make it that Maxie Hughes is overrated? He went to America, done the job, didn't get a decision. Is that...
I think it depends on who you're talking about, and I think like anything else, you tend to think the loudest voices are the common voices, and that might not be it. You just run into people's random fanboys here and they're probably people that they grew up with. I mean, you guys have such a local culture when it comes to sports that, you know, you run into 20 people who grew up with Maxie Hughes, and, you know, they'll say whatever about him.
Well, it's hard to say, isn't it, until the box has been ticked. We talked about this with Azim last week. To a certain extent, Sheeraz, we've seen him struggle with movers against Skeet. Was that just a one-off, or will he always struggle with movers? You have to gather up this body of evidence. Andrew Thickett says Sheeraz likely sits somewhere between Callum Smith and David Price. In other words, it's hard to say. It is hard to say at the moment. You know, he's banged out Williams. Was Williams shot to shit at the board? You wouldn't like to think after last night they'd be licensing him again. Unless, well, he might go and fight Conor Ben off in flipping Gibraltar or something, but he shouldn't be getting a license over here again. Did that flatter to deceive? Will Sheeraz struggle against somebody in his next fight? We need to see them consistently fighting different styles, and so we see what they're capable of.
Well, Des says regarding Sheeraz, it's his 6th year as a pro, man. He's super middle, has never been so weak. Go up 7 pounds and clean up. Do you think that's an option?
Well, he's going to move up at some point. He's a big unit, isn't he, I suppose? So, yeah. Get him in against Jack Cullen. He hasn't ticked the Jack Cullen box yet.
There you
Everybody's
go.
got to fight him. It should be mandatory, I think, for any prospect to have to fight Jack Cullen.
It's kind of like a video game, and he's just like a boss on a certain level, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
When you got to keep replaying just so you can try and beat him.
Restarting.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't even get past the fucking first guy on Glass Joe. I couldn't even get past him on Mike Tyson. I fucking sucked at that game when I was a kid. Anyhow, but I'm much better at Fight Night. See here. Also on that card, a lightweight, man, and talk about a stacked division. Another lightweight to be impressed with. Sam Noakes taking out the undefeated Louis Sylvester with the British lightweight and the Commonwealth title on the line, as well as some lower level WBC and WBO trinkets. As soon as he decided to go to the body, Andy, I don't know if you saw this one or not, but it was over and done with. And Noakes, he's a hell of a puncher. He's good at trapping you, and he's not afraid to do the majority of his work downstairs. This kid could be a live dog in a rough division.
Yeah, I think he is. When to watch, mate. I mean, you just see him. He's clearly, you know, got it all. Well, got it all. I mean, he's got the fitness. I believe he's like in his marathons or in his hill walking, whatever it is. And that, so naturally, he's going to be fit. Works the roofs. Going to be strong as well, mate. Got to be strong. He's going to work on the roofs, like. So you saw it as well, the way he attacked the body, as you mentioned there. Just absolutely dominated that guy, Sylvester. He felt sorry for the guy, but he had nothing for him. So fair play to him as well. Interesting. You see where they go with him. What do you think we go with him next, Steve?
With Noakes?
I mean, that's British Commonwealth now. I mean, he can maybe try and, you know, go take the defences, or, you know, there's also a couple of trinket belts on there as well. Maybe go the top 10 route.
Who's holding the European titles?
Yeah, we think it'd be fast tracking him.
Yeah,
Gavin fast track him though.
No, well, he's 13-0 with 13 knockouts now, isn't he? He's an absolute banger. Gavin Gwynn, I think, is the European champion. Didn't he defend it against that Italian guy? Although he's defending, he's fighting somebody out on one of the Saudi cards, is he? Was it meant to be Fury Usyk? I can't remember off the top of my head anyway. But Noakes, yeah, they might just take the foot off the gas a bit and maybe take him the Lonsdale, try and get the Lonsdale belt out right or something like that. But he is someone I've kept an eye on from a distance, because I know I've told this story on the podcast before, but a guy I used to do a bit of work for, he ran like a nutrition company, you know, these powders for bodybuilders, whatever it was. But he knew Noakes. I think he knew the family. And right from the beginning, when he first turned pro, I remember him saying to me, keep an eye on Sam Noakes. I think he's got a brother as well who boxes. But he said, Sam Noakes, you know, he's going to be the deal when he gets older, and he's going to be a really good fighter. And I was like, yeah, you know, whatever. But he's kind of proved him right over the years. You know, he's really been maturing into an absolute banger. But as for Sylvester, as you said, Andy, I was only watching this from a distance, but he just had no power. I know he knocked out Jimmy First, friend of the pod, even though he doesn't know it, in the first round and dropped him 3 times. He didn't seem to have the power to keep Noakes off him. He was tough. He tried to throw back, but it was just a matter of time. And as soon as he started hitting him to the body, the guy punches like an absolute monster. So, as Dev said, he's the lower weight Beterbiev, but he's maturing into a nice fighter. Mark Chamberlain's there as well. He's a frank fighter, a lightweight from Portsmouth, 14-0, 10 knockouts, southpaw. So there are built-in people down the line for him to fight. But yeah, maybe someone like a Gwyn level they'll be looking at.
Excellent. Yeah, that's definitely one to keep an eye on there, Sam Noakes. I mean, that he's definitely a puncher. I think he's got it in both hands too, and so that
just like the way he goes about his business. So it's just, oof.
There ain't an ounce of fuck around about that kid.
No.
So let's see here. I'm going to go through. I think I saw 2 more fights on this one, and then I'll let you guys fill in the blanks here. Anthony Yard with a little comeback, taking out Marco Nikolic in just 3 rounds, finding just about every punch in the book and beating the snot out of him to the body as well. Steve, not much to say about this one, but they're obviously trying to find something meaningful for Yard, probably end of this half of the year, beginning of the next half of the year.
Yeah, again, I was only sort of flicking in and out of the undercard, so I can't offer any in-depth analysis like usual, really. But I noticed Yard has a new haircut, which I'm a fan of. The 2 bunches either side, so he's definitely mixing things up in the hairdressers anyway. I thought he looked, I don't know, he didn't look as wide.
Like an 8-year-old girl?
Yeah, pretty much, exactly. But he didn't look as wide as usual, unless it was just my computer screen. He didn't look as filled out. He's usually that sort of square shape, absolute man mountain with the big boobs and all. He just looked a bit thinner, but looking at his weight here, and it was 177, so that must have just been my eyesight. Didn't see Karol Itoma. Umar Khan was fighting, but not in my mind because I wasn't paying attention. Tommy Fletcher's the big tall guy. He fought Alvaro Torrero, knocked him out. I can't really remember much about that. He's huge. He's huge.
He's a big son of a bitch for the weight. That's the other one I saw on this card, and he just damaged that dude's nose, and that's why they called it. I mean, it was just torn up. Nasty shot opening him up there. He's again, I'm always hesitant about these guys who are freakishly lanky for any given weight division, but I think there's a little bit about him. We shall see. Needs to step it up, but we shall see.
Yeah, no, he looks decent. And the opening fight that I saw was actually a nicely matched fight for their stages of their career. Masood Abdullah, a bit of beef against Qais Ashfaq. How Ashfaq has fallen. I remember he was really touted as a prospect at one point and just doesn't work for him whatsoever. And the fact his punch resistance seems to have gone, I think he's going to have to just throw it in the towel. I know the corner threw in the towel for him, but I think his career's over. I don't think he's got anything else to offer. Something tells me that he dropped Abdullah, but I must just imagine that because he doesn't mention it on BoxRec. And then he got dropped himself 5 times, but he was just getting touched and dropped. Not as bad as Williams, but not far off. Just no punch resistance, not able to stand up to the shots. And if you're a boxer, that's going to be detrimental to your future if you can't stand up to the flush shots. So, yeah, I think onwards and upwards for Abdullah, who had a little word at Ashfaq while he was on the floor. Big fan of that kind of shithousery. But yeah, I think Ashfaq needs to just pack it in, man.
All right. Andy, anything to say on the rest of this card?
Negative.
All right. And a fight I was unable to watch in a card I did not see. Reece Bellotti getting a win there. Steve, was you or Andy that saw enough of this to speak of it?
Yes, I did see this fight. Let me see if I can bring it up now. It's funny because Joe Kennedy put this, shout out to Joe Kennedy, head of the Prediction League, on the Prediction League. And I went for Dillon on points because I thought that was the sort of safe pick. And I'm not being an after timer here because, I mean, at the end of the day, who cares? But whenever I was making that pick, I thought to myself, this is interesting, really. You might give Bellotti a shot. No, not on points. I thought to myself, he's a bit of a puncher. I know he's lost at a certain level, but he's fought at a higher level than Dillon, who's a friend of the pod. Dillon has this strange style. He kind of pushes his punches. He might have caught the last fella who he beat as a shock, who was, Ashfaq. I thought it was Ashfaq, actually. I just checked that out. Caught him as a bit of a shock. It might have been a bit of a one-off. He lunges down and he puts the head down low. I could just see Bellotti maybe catching him with an uppercut or something. And I kind of fancied, Bellotti maybe pulling off the shock knockout win or something. But if not, Dillon would hopefully win on points. So I went for him on points on the Prediction League, but I was wrong. Bellotti landed all the right shots at the right times, outworked him, had that extra quality. Thought he was well worthy of his win for British and Commonwealth titles. Dillon did himself no shame whatsoever. I mean, they could rematch at some point if they wanted to do that. But yeah, I didn't write Bellotti off, and I was right not to, even though I went for Dillon in the end. He was well worth the win, Bellotti. But it just that extra touch of quality won it for him, Matty.
Excellent. Anything else on the card you thought were
Richards Crichton. I didn't even realise Richards had knocked him out. I was watching that as well. Must have been paying attention. I thought it went the distance, but according to this, it was a knockout. Vuong, I saw him knocked out Ellis. Ellis is a decent enough test at this stage for Vuong, who's only 4-0. But Ellis, he's had a lot of hard fights, actually. The ref jumped in as if he was like saving him from himself. He's 14-8 now, Ishmael Ellis. He's 32. He's been stopped 4 times. He hasn't knocked anybody out, so he hasn't got that fight turning power. He's lost his last 1, 2, 3, 4 fights in a row. The fact they're bringing him in for a 3-0 guy, I think they should be having a look at him, maybe to just save him from himself, because he's taken a lot of hard fights and a lot of shots. John Hedges iced this Kadrija. Really nice finish that was, caught him with a good shot. And if there was anything else on the card, I didn't see it. That was all I saw.
Andy, did you catch anything of this card?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good, cracking fight. Bellotti stuff. I wouldn't mind a rematch, actually, to be fair.
Well, that was very succinct.
Let's get it on, as Mills Lane would say.
All right. So, and I only caught a little bit of this card from Russia. We were discussing before we came on the podcast. You know, the tough thing when you stream these Russian fights is you're often looking at two people who kind of look the same, and you don't speak the language, so you don't know what the hell is going on, especially with the strange characters used for writing. Well, Andy, in this case, it was a Russian against a Chinese guy.
Yeah, easy.
So we were able to know what was going on in that one. But it was a crazy fight with Zhang, the Chinese gentleman, hitting the deck and getting worked over before getting his wits back about him against the ropes and just waylaying the Russian and ending the fight. And this is all in what, 2 rounds?
Yeah, 2 rounds. It was one of the cards, mate. You stick one in the background and you kind of like tune into it from time to time. And to be fair, when I heard the kind of crowd uproar, I actually had to go and rewind it back to see what happened. Obviously, the Chinese dude getting dropped. You think, look at the state of his face, blood coming down out his nose. He's in a bad way. You're thinking he's getting stopped next round, easy, no problem at all. He's all over the place, and then he starts to get touched up again, and then he just seems to counter and drops the Russian off 3 counter shots, and that's it. Gets counted out, absolutely wasted off it. Glass-jawed fraud, absolutely wasted. What a turnaround! So yeah, it made dinner time a bit more kind of eventful, shall we say? But yeah, it was class. Like I love to see they kind of like come from behind wins like that, an absolute upset. So it was good to see.
What else was on that card, Andy?
Give me a second till I'll just pull it up.
Abdullaev headline.
Abdullaev, yeah, that was a Gutierrez fight. Steve, I think you've seen that as well. I think Gutierrez is probably over the hump. Oh, he's washed now at this point. Even at 28, hard road as well for him. Probably gets brought in again as a kind of gatekeeper status for some future fights and that. Did they catch Silyanyan, who's meant to be, I think he's ranked top 10, I think, super middleweight. Big lanky dude, but I didn't see the fight, like I said. Just trying to see what else is on that card, or anything I know. Nah, nothing else I know. Don't know if Steve can add any more about that card, to be fair, but that's the only 2 kind of fights that I'd seen.
Yeah, not really any great insight, but as we were saying off air, it's difficult sometimes to work out who's who, and I'm all for them bringing over Argentines or Africans or something, or because we know it's the Russian against the Chinese guy, or the Russian against the black fellow, or the Russian against the Latino guy, and then we can distinguish who's who. But what I saw, I thought it was Romanov. He was right on top. He was beating the shit out of this Zhang. Looked like it was going to be a one-sided kind of fight, and then all of a sudden he just came from behind. Absolute brilliant knockout. The referee called it straight away. No complaints from the corner. No home cooking or any sort of skullduggery. It was what it was. A come-from-behind knockout. Absolute big fan of that. Gutierrez, remember him losing to Hector Luis Garcia. He'd been on a nice run up until that point. And in his last fight, he fought our pal, Mate Otar, wasn't it? Erenosian, who beat him on one of the Showbox openers, or maybe a Showtime
Pro
openers or
Box.
or Pro Box or one, something like that. That was a
Pro
real
Box
good win
main
for
event
him.
stopped him. Yeah.
In main event, yep, that's what it was. And Gutierrez, he's a puncher. He'll always be decent at a certain level, but he'll never get to that top level. But he seemed to be raging last night afterwards. He was absolutely, they were booing around the ring and waving their hands and the flag. And they interviewed him in Spanish, which was being translated to Russian. So I don't know what he was saying, but he really felt he was hard done to and should have won the fight. But as we mentioned with Abdullaev earlier, the political situation means he has to stay in Russia. And he hasn't fought absolute killers since the Haney fight. But I always felt against Haney that he would give a good account of himself. And he absolutely didn't. He really was overrun by the lights, just got to him, and he ended up retiring on an injury, I think, against Haney, if I remember correctly, and he'd lost every round, and he looked terrible. And I thought, I've seen Abdullaev in the past before that, and I thought he'd better than that. And he showed since he hasn't fought the greatest level of opposition, but even Zlatican, and he went the distance with him, but he was sort of done by then. Linares, Straffon, Ricardo Nunes, who we'd seen knocked out by
Straffon was an okay win as such, because
Straffon was a good win.
Cruz beat him, and who else beat him? Somebody else I know beat Straffon as well.
Maxi Hughes beat
Maxi
him.
Hughes, that's who it was.
And he'd upset Tennyson, hadn't he, in Tennyson's final fight?
That's right, aye.
Yeah, so he was a puncher, and Abdullaev diffused him, and then in the last fight he fought that Roman Andreev, who came in with a 25-0 record, but had never beaten anybody, and it showed. Because Abdullaev dropped him, dominated him. I think at a certain level, Abdullaev's going to be a handful. He gets the hands up high. He has a lovely jab to head and to body. The right hand as well. He has a decent engine on him. I think the way he holds his hands up high means he's going to be susceptible to body shots.
Definitely European level.
Definitely European level. Maybe fringe world these days with all the titles. But he showed against Haney's levels, even though I still do contest that. He didn't give a great account of himself that night, but he's rebuilt himself in Russia. The problem is, are they going to get anybody to come over and fight him with where the political situation is? Because he's not going to be able to go back to America again anytime soon.
See if Boxrec is right. Klimas is his manager, by the way, so I don't know if anybody who's listening has maybe got access to Klimas. Maybe ask the question: Is Abdullaev, in the conversation for a title fight? I'm just going to put. Yeah,
he must be by now. He's had about 7. He's had about 7 or 8 wins, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he's got the rankings just now. It's going to see if he's ranked at all at this. What is he? 35, 135, 140.
He was at 135. I don't know if he's still there now. Let me see, 136.5. Yeah, he'll be lightweight. Yeah, he'll be lightweight.
His Excellency will get him something. They'll meet in Saudi Arabia.
Well, I would love to see that, to be honest, if he could. I want the best for Zaur Abdullaev, don't we all?
I'm really pulling for him.
But yeah, we got through that card anyway, didn't we, Matty, one way or the other?
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, and my God, there's a fair amount of cards in front of me for this week, and they're kind of all stacked on the same day.
Oh, really? I could only find Foster Nova, so I'm intrigued.
I've got that Mexican card as well.
All right, yeah. So we got a comment first, Joe. We'll get this out of the way. Let's see here, Thomas Smith.
Oh, that was the one I read earlier. Yeah,
fantastic.
Don't worry about that. Sorry,
cool.
I should have deleted that.
Well, we're just keep rocking on through here. Let's see here. So yeah, on Thursday, we're gonna have a card from Commerce Casino in Commerce, California, and this is going to be Ricardo Rafael Sandoval taking on Jason Mama. And Joseph Diaz working his way still up the comeback trail against Jesus Antonio Perez Campos, the man of many names. So that is something for you guys to get up on Friday if you're bored, and you're going to have that one waiting for you.
Sandoval, he was the one that beat Jay Harris.
Maybe.
Yes, I think he did. He's
a body assault on eye.
Yeah, Jason Mama, I'm trying to think. He's got one loss. That might have been a Rigondo.
I've seen him fight someone before. I'm sure I have. Let me see. Sonny Edwards.
There you go.
Yeah, in Dubai. I do remember that fight, actually.
That's right. I think Edwards dropped him, actually.
Yeah, round 10.
Is that right? Aye.
Yeah.
There we go. Aye. There we go. You always remember the first time.
Well, that's not a good thing for him. So, yep, we got that on Thursday. Let's see here. And then we're going to have, let's see here. Which one do I want to do first? Yeah, we'll do that. We're going to have a Pro Box card on Friday, Steve, because
Ooh.
Wednesday is Valentine's Day, and they didn't want, the guys to have to fight with the women on, are we going to go out to dinner and do all this romantic shit, or am I going to stay here, get drunk, and watch boxing? ProBox said, no, don't worry. We got you guys covered. We'll move our shit to Friday to compete with the other 2 cards going on. I don't know if that was the best idea, but what are you going to do? So got a couple of good fights on here. Israel Rodriguez Picasso, 30-5 on a nice little streak. Taking on Ramon Cardenas, 23-1. This is a 122-pound fight. Jesus Saracho, he's a pretty fun fighter, taking on Starling Castillo, 18-1-1. Saracho, 13-1-1. Dare I say the draws in play?
Ooh.
For this 140-pound fight? We'll find out. I think Saracho was in Canada recently, as I recall. Let's see here. So we got that one from ProBox coming up on Friday. And then we also have from Mexico, Adrian Curiel. God, I hate his name. Sivanathi Notshinga. I should have just said Notshinga.
I'm curious.
In a rematch for the 112-pound or 108-pound title.
Oh, yeah.
Curiel lifted off of Notshinga in an upset knockout from the light punching Curiel.
That was on the Cordina undercard, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is this purely the reason why this rematch is happening all of a sudden quickly? Well, quickly.
Must be just get the title back off him, yeah, I'll tell you so.
Yeah, because obviously it was a big upset. When was it overhand right? It dropped him. South African.
Yeah.
It was just like it was complete out, right out the blue. But yeah, it's anyways, good luck to the guy. But
Notshinga's a pretty big 108 guy. I think he was having problems making the weight. I think Curiel keeps his title.
I'm not sure. I think it's all set up for Non-Shinga to win it because he'd signed a promotional deal, hadn't he, with Eddie?
But it's in Mexico.
I know. Eddie will go anywhere, though, won't he?
Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, that's not working for Notshinga.
Lara on the undercard as well.
Yes, more excited about that. The return of Mauricio Lara. We'll see what he has after that weird performance against Warrington, taking on 27-2 Daniel Lugo. This is going to be at 130 pounds. Let's see here. Anything else that seems particularly banging on there? You never know about this one. Julio Porras Ruiz against Aaron Rocha Guerrero. Guerrero 10-2-1. Ruiz undefeated at 9-0. So
you've also got undefeated guy there, heavyweight 5-0 Pacheco.
Oh yeah, he's decent. He's a little fatty, isn't he? But he's got fast hands. I've seen him before, and I like him.
Right on. Yeah, guys, I don't know. I think Notshinga might have been a little flash in the pan, and you got to think Curiel's not much of a puncher, and he took him out of there. I don't know.
It's one of the ones, mate. You just never know in the weight divisions. You know what I'm saying? Just you've got guys. Honestly, you could literally pick any guy out the top 25, and on the night you could pull it off because you could so many fighters that can come up in weight divisions because it's like £3 or come down £3 and that. I think the South African probably wins, to be fair. I was shocked as well after the first fight. Like I never kind of really expected that one to happen. I expected him to win that fight. As Steve says, he signed a deal with Eddie. I had seen him before actually. It was a couple of years before, and I forget which fight it was. It might have been the Ivan Serrano fight, possibly. He looked pretty good and was a devastating knockout. But yeah, I think he'll turn it around this time.
We shall see. I hope Mr. Kennedy gets this into the prediction league. Steve, yeah, I think it will be in the prediction league, being it's basically a pick 'em fight with the books. So I don't know. What direction are you thinking? You're right. You were right up there with Holly last time around, who's kicking ass.
I know Holly was on top of me, but I was looking to turn her over as best I could this weekend. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to with Liam Dillon letting me down.
Sorry, Holly.
She was just too much for me, which is often the case. But yeah, I can't remember what was the other fight in the prediction league now this week. It was Dillon, Bellotti, and
it was devil points on Williams.
Williams against Sheeraz. I went Sheeraz KO with that one. I think so. It was all right.
Good call, buddy.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Everyone knows I like watching the little guy fights. This should be good. And also Mauricio Lara coming back. Such an exciting fighter. I'm going to see what does Lugo have to offer? I'm trying to think if I've seen him. Let's see who he has fought here. Let's see here. He lost 16-4-1 Edwin Palomares.
Didn't recognize anything there, like, to be fair.
He beat a 10-0 guy, 12-1 guy recently.
This is the hardcore weekend, this, isn't it, man? Fair play, Matty, man. I didn't even know half of these cards were going on when I was looking on BoxRec earlier.
Yeah, not a whole lot.
You did well.
Thank you. I tell you what, this guy built a record out of nothing. We'll see. I don't know. The last couple wins he's got are pretty decent, though. He had a good 2023, pulling off 3 victories there. Obviously 1935-1 guy, that doesn't matter, but a 10-0-1 guy and a 12-1 guy, that's not too bad. It's you don't know much about those other folks, but he's working his way back up the ladder. But Lara, man, I don't think moving up 1 weight class is going to diminish his power, especially he throws them from such weird angles, Steve. And it's a shame that I don't think he can make 126 anymore, because I think him versus Luis Alberto Lopez, man, that's the fucking fight.
Mm-hmm. But Luis Alberto Lopez, I think, has a fight coming up soon, doesn't he? He's fighting that Abe, the Japanese guy.
Yeah, first week of March.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to think Lopez is an accident waiting to happen, but I think he's matured into a really nice, difficult-to-beat fighter. And yeah, absolutely, get him in against that Espinoza or even Ramirez. They might even look to do that or something, but yeah.
Man, wish there was more to say here. All right. Now, going to Madison Square Garden, I'm assuming the little room. Going to have a little top-ranked card here. We'll see how this one goes. Last one wasn't so fantastic, but
struggle with the snooze, Matty.
No, I was trying to. I thought Steve was going to go longer, so I got a little hard.
You stuck into a sausage roll or something there.
No, so I got a piece of hard candy.
He's getting the
longer. I'm like, what kind of a bitch? So
I thought I was saving us all by going short. Sorry, Matty.
No, he's trying to get a dip in his mouth. That's what he's trying to do, and he's trying to spit it back out.
No, Steve, I like just fucking talking ad nauseum. Anyhow. We're going to the little room at Madison Square Garden. Get to the main event in a second. Let's see what is all on here. Any great accidents looking to happen? Great fights that could occur. Let's see here. Got a few undefeated guys on here. Isaiah Flaherty, or it might just be Isa. Who knows? Is in there.
Vianello's on there.
Facio Falcone, 10-0. Arnold Gonzalez, 13-0 in there. Guido Vianello, 11-1-1. We all know Guido. Taking on Moses Johnson, 11-1-2. Who knows, man? With that Vianello, could be interesting. Could be a disaster waiting to happen. Let's see here. Yuri Cedeno going in there against Antonio Todd. And Steve, for some reason, I'm thinking Antonio Todd is a decent little journeyman, actually.
Yes.
I swear we've seen him recently.
Was it the Troy Isley fight, maybe, I think? I'm looking down his record. Anthony Sims, I think, was the one I saw him in. Yeah, he's decent enough. He's not going to win a fight. He's not going to win, but he will give you trouble. He will have a go. And his last fight there, that against Jalon Pridgeon, I'm pretty sure I saw that.
Santino Jr. That's where it was that he came out of. Yeah,
or maybe the Pridgeon fight. I didn't see that now. Actually, I'm looking down it, but yeah, I definitely seen him going in against somebody and causing a future problems. And yeah, against Isley, Hicks, he kind of takes him a distance. He's happy to take his shots. He looks about 50 years of age, but he's actually only 29. He is a grizzled journeyman beyond his years, Antonio Todd. His name stuck out to me as well, Matty, that I was familiar with him too. And Vianello. Yeah, Vianello's on the card as well, 8-rounder against Moses Johnson. I don't know why they keep bringing Vianello back. He must be on some kind of long-term contract or something. They must see something in him. I don't see the same thing, but at the end of the day, I'm not a matchmaker. Lost to Johnny Rice, didn't he? Got stopped by that cut. Came back against Curtis Harper. You got to be beating Curtis Harper these days, man. He's a flipping big fat mess, isn't he? Yeah. What else is on this card?
You need to check that Moses Johnson's BoxRec profile picture.
Poor Moses, man, for me. He has a 6-round win over Lemire Isom Riley, who people who've made it this far with us, God help you, from earlier might remember he upset that Zapata, was it, at the
We're actually
weekend?
getting
On
more
the top
listeners as we go along, Steve.
well, he's in against Vianello anyway.
God, we're really digging the bottom of the barrel of knowledge at this point in
Trying
time.
our
Let's
best,
see
yeah.
here. Delonte Johnson continuing his career 11-0, taking on Paulo Cesar Galdino 13-7-2. I'm trying to think if I remember anything about him.
No.
Shushu Carrington
Yes.
on this card against the 18-1 Bernard Angelo Torres.
Yes, I know a bit about Torres, actually.
Please, Steve.
Yes, he's a Filipino southpaw who's based in Norway, and I've actually seen him fight before. I remember him mentioning him to Andy.
Yeah,
he's very confident because not only is he fighting Carrington, but he has a fight lined up for the beginning of April in Oslo against Jason Juarez. So he's hoping to get the business done here. He stepped out before. He had most of his early fights in Norway and Spain, and then he turned up on a showbox card, the ones that me and Matty used to watch, and fought a guy called Frankie Fortunato Saya back in September 2022. It was on the Joseph Adorno undercard. Boca Chica fought Royman Villa, who you might remember fought Boots Ennis on that same card. Anyway, Torres, very close. He was the favourite against Saya, but he actually lost. That's the only loss so far in his career in a split decision. They were interviewing Carrington last week on the ESPN telecast. He kind of respected Torres a little bit, but he didn't feel like he had too much to offer him. I don't think he'd be a big enough puncher. If he can get to the end, the 10-round distance against Carrington, it'll be a bit of a victory for him, but I don't see him winning. But at least there's a couple of names there. They are giving Carrington a name over 10 rounds at least.
Yeah, that definitely seems like a step up for him. I would say out of that Olympic class that he is definitely the one that they have the most faith in at this point in time.
Carrington beat Vladimir Hernandez in his last fight? Am I thinking, or was that Tiger fella? Who beat Hernandez? Someone beat Vladimir Hernandez, didn't they? It wasn't Carrington. He's Who was that?
Andy, you got to add Andy to this. He's hanging in the waiting room there. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell is Andy doing in the waiting room?
I don't know what he's doing in there.
Yeah, I got my advanced antivirus seems to pick up sometimes, and it just kicks me out of some websites and that. You know, this was one of them.
Well, hold on. Welcome to Exploring Box Rec with Maddie and Steve. Thanks for joining us, Andy and Rob.
Hey, worries. Cheers, mate.
Sorry, we're down such a rabbit hole. Didn't even realize you're gone there, Andy.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what. The other fight on the undercard, that Brian Chevalier against Andre Cortez, is really good. You'll remember Cortez in his last fight was in a fucking wicked banging fight against Xavier Martinez.
Oh, yes, I wondered where I'd seen his name before. And Chevalier's only lost once. Cortez is undefeated. That should be a decent fight, actually, that one. I'm looking forward to that, yeah.
Yeah, this one is a little bit of a better card on closer glance.
Yes.
But welcome, Rob Kelly. The main event, Oshaquie Foster, Abraham Nova. But check out this, Rob. As I was thinking, Tim Bradley said the other night, this fight is a trap. This fight is a trap.
For who? For Oshaquie?
Yep.
For us?
Yeah. Might trap me into watching it, maybe. Who's the opponent that I'm supposed to care about?
Abraham Nova, baby. Abraham Supernova.
Sounds very new. No, I don't know anything about that guy, so I couldn't tell you whether it's a trap or not, but I like the look. I like the cut of Oshaquie Foster's jib in the last couple of fights. I know he was kind of in his last fight. One of the DAZN opponents was supposed to fucking beat him, wasn't it? Like he didn't really stick to the script there. He looks like a good fighter on the up, but I don't know anything about this guy Nova. I haven't seen him at all, so can't offer any insight about that. And I'm sure you're delighted that you got the half night for me to jump on and talk about fights that I don't know anything about. So don't know anything about this guy. Let me know. Enlighten me, Maddie. What is Abraham Nova like? What does he bring to the table? Is it going to go over 6 rounds? Is there a parlay here that you could fucking pair this up with to make some bread off of?
I can only lose you money if I say how to bet it. But I will tell you this, Rob. The only knock on Nova's resume is a loss to Robesi Ramirez, after which Nova moved up to 130 pounds. And in a fight that was basically a pick 'em with the books, he beat Adam Lopez, who Steve and I both rate. In that fight, he dropped Lopez a couple of times. And the fight after that, He took out Jonathan Romero in 3 rounds. He seems to be a better puncher at this weight. And if I was you and a fan of Foster, what would concern me is the fact that he is going to be about as long as Ray Vargas in his dimensions, but he can punch at that. So if Foster is sitting there trading some jabs with Abraham Nova or trading at jab distance, he could get hit really hard with a good straight punch. And you also don't know if that fight that he had recently against Andy, help me out here. I'm speaking of Foster, against Rocky Hernandez, where he won in the 12th round with a stoppage. You don't know if that took anything out of him either, Rob. That was a pretty rough fight.
Yeah, but I guess he hung in there. We'll see. I don't think like as good as Shaki Foster's kind of coming at a good time, isn't he? Because there's not that many kind of guys, new faces, like, and there's a bit of light on him for the moment, but we'll wait and see. But then again, I said that last week about Keyshawn, didn't I? And then he went down and fucking smashed Pedraza to bits. But I don't know. I wait and see. Like, I think Oshaquie Foster's a good fighter, but I don't think he's anything sensational either. Like, so the possibility of him losing is not like hugely surprising to me. You get me?
And it would be a hell of a turnaround here as well, Andy, because a few people said he was their fighter of the year. Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. I think maybe Dez said that he was his fighter of the year for
Shaki Foster.
Yeah. Because he beat Ray Vargas and then that fight with Rocky Hernandez.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. It's some career turnaround, isn't it? You know, he really has fought his way the hard. I know he's had a tough. Wasn't he in prison at one point as well? And he had a couple of family members shot and stuff. And
on the hard road.
He's on the hard road, isn't he? He's done a bit of shovel. But I don't know. I'm not sure about Nova. You know what he's going to bring. No, I was just going to say, I don't know what he's going to bring. I know he knocked out Encarnacion, but when he went in against Ramirez just sort of battered through him, didn't he? And is that Nova's level? I'm looking at his wins since Adam Lopez, who's better than his record suggests, actually. He always gives people a tough fight. And then he knocked out this Jonathan Romero, who's a Colombian, bit of a puncher, but never really beaten anybody. What has Nova done in those 2 fights to really deserve getting back into contention, considering how badly he was beaten by Ramirez in his previous shot, which leads me to believe they're giving Foster not a handy one, but one he can win. He's not the biggest puncher in the world, so I think he'll probably be on points, but be surprised if Nova has really turned his career around that much at this stage that he's going to upset Foster. I think Foster's in a real nice groove now, and it's all odds on for him to outbox Nova. I'm not really sure what he has to offer at this level.
Yeah, it's a good question. Jamie throwing in 199 in there. Thank you very much.
Go on, Jamie, lad.
Hey, it's fantastic. We're keeping the lights on. I love it.
Yeah, we're going to get a candle. Bastards.
Really are.
Not even a Yankee candle for $1.99, Jamie. Get out of here.
You can't get a Yankee candle for $10.99. It's fucking ridiculous. Those things are insane. Anyways, I'm glad you're embracing the Yankees now. But Andy, it's just the fact that Bradley was also jumping on that idea. Maybe it's confirmation bias on my part, but I've been fully impressed with the way that Nova looks at 130 pounds. I'm not saying an entirely different fighter, but a more stable fighter, a better punching fighter, a more confident fighter.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the Romero fight. He was strong in that one. I think he's the type of fighter where Foster will need to be in his P's and Q's. He's got to be really respectful of this guy. I think if he gets caught up in the ropes, this Nova can throw in flipping long shots, so definitely needs to be watched. But I agree with Rob. I think Foster's and Steve that as well. I believe Foster's now at his peak at this point. I take the point as well. Maybe the Hernandez fight may have taken a little bit out of him. We'll wait and see. But in terms of skills and counterpunching, Foster is up there with one of the best in sport right now. Come a wee bit late in the sport, shall we say, or getting his flowers kind of a wee bit late in the sport. He is 30, but again, he's been looking good. I mean, if you look at his last 3-4 fights, there have been against world ranked guys. Well, maybe no Mickey Romantic, to be fair, he had seen better days, but the other 3 at least were, top ranked guys. So he's getting a nice wee resume there. And I think if he gets this one as well, I think it still would be a very good win for him as well. I'm just trying to remember now, who was the unification we're looking for that division at 130? Help me out. Who was it?
Let me think. Vermont Roach.
Is it Navarrete or Cordina? I can't remember.
I don't understand. As Boxrec, have I gone on to like a Boxrec version of 7 years ago? There was someone in the top 10 earlier. I was like, what's he doing there? And then I see Jamel Herring and Thomas Matisse. Tevin Farmer at number 8. What's
You're going to do the time machine, are you?
Am I looking at like an old cash version or something?
That's William Joppy.
Mamadou Thiam.
I'm sorry, Rob. That is the bastard child of Jean McMormack. My
who was the guy who ranked with WBO, Steve? He was actually dead, but he still
I
was
can't
in the top
remember his
10.
name. Yeah,
He's an African boy or something like
well,
that.
the only way is up, I suppose, for him, eh?
The color of it is so weird. It almost looks like it's photoshopped on, right? It's poor Nova and his beard.
His greatest asset, Matthew, really, couldn't it, to be fair?
No, his greatest asset is the mascot that comes to the ring. Yeah. Oh, man, I can't wait for it. Do you remember the time when he didn't give him a pass? So he was like,
that's right, they wouldn't let him in the ring, would they?
Dancing around. Yeah, that was good shit. Oh, it's gonna be this top ranked card is actually pretty good, and I'll tell you what, guys, I am excited for the return of Mauricio Lara as well. This isn't a bad Friday whatsoever, and you guys will have all of Saturday to catch up to it, and I'm sure that these great fights will be in the places where you normally would find them. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I hopefully so. Hopefully so. So this is a Friday night one then, actually.
All Friday. It's all on the 16th.
Excellent. That's good. Yeah, I like a Friday night show, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on Saturday that's so important. I'm trying to think if there's something special happening, but nothing comes to mind.
No. FA Cup 5th round? Not sure.
I don't know. If something weird happens, Rob will probably think it was a false flag.
Yeah. Love a false flag, mate.
Free Richard Hall. What's the fucking date? Let me check the numerology on it. I'll come back to you.
yeah. Well, people should be worried about the 17th, Rob. The 17th of February.
Someone put one of them in. Fair play to Danny Young. He's been gathering up the Bellew of the weeks for me. But he says he put one in here, and it said, where is it? Anthony Crawler has gone too far this time, and then. This was the photo. So, well, that was quite a good one, which we got there for Bellew of the week. But anyway, there we go.
Excellent. Well, before we move into that territory, I would like to offer the floor.
Poor Richard Hall, fucking stitch up. I definitely believe that fella that fucking climbing Mount Everest, that he was severely injured.
Kilimanjaro in a special wheelchair.
Oh, the fuck he was doing.
I read the article. But anyway, I'd like to not open up the floor.
We'll never forget.
Not for that, Rob, but I would like to open the floor for you if you have any comments about the prior week in boxing.
Yeah, I mean, I had a strange week last week of predictions because I said that fucking Keyshawn was going to have a tough time with Pedraza, and he literally could have taken him out anytime he felt like it after the third round. Shot selection was really good. Fuck me, hitting with both hands, power, accuracy. Pedraza, all right, might be on the way out, like whatever. Maybe wasn't able to put muster or anything, but he certainly was like letting his hands go in the early stages until he felt the power, and then he was like, "Fuck this." Thought Keyshawn could have knocked him out at any stage after round 3.
Does it make you think you want to give up the devil's lettuce, Rob?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. Let's make me reevaluate everything. Oh no, I was wrong about Keyshawn. Where next? And then the Teo fight, like I thought Teo would stop Ortiz. I think, or I don't know what the fucking. I mean, I'm sure he's all covered it. I'm sure like he's one of the most intriguing fighters in the sport because he has everything. Athletically, he on his day, he's capable of beating anyone. He's capable of beating Lomachenko, capable of beating these guys, Josh Taylor, and doing it without looking bad. Like, and then if it seems like if he comes up against an opponent that he's not motivated for, or he hasn't, I don't know if he hasn't prepared, he hasn't watched enough tape. I definitely think I think it was a mistake them getting rid of Joey Gamache as the co-trainer. I think since the dad's been doing it on his own, he's had more of these nights. He had the Sandor Martin, he's had this one against Ortiz, he's had the "do I still got it, bro" moments, and you're asking yourself these questions as well when you're looking at him trying to cut off the ring. It's like, for as athletically gifted as he is, fundamentally even like off the jab, he's brilliant with straight shots, but like just that bit about cutting the ring, anybody that seems to be able to get away from him is causing him problems.
To the right, southpaws to their own right.
Yeah, and he was just struggling. But even like the southpaw thing, I I don't go for that too much with fighters because, like, even at a basic level for amateurs, like orthodox fighters are told, like, get your fucking left foot and your left hand on the outside of the southpaw, like, and if you don't fucking look to move to his, like, that's a basic fucking thing. So I don't always buy into that. I know fellas just have trouble adapting to the style, but I think it's just it's muscle memory and stuff and stubbornness with certain fighters that they don't want to go the other way. But with Ortiz, I think, or with Lopez rather, I think there's just too much pressure on the kid to be a star. There's too many mouths to feed. There's too many fucking people in the back end. His dad's there. We've spoke about it millions and millions, and I think he's a bit mentally fragile. I don't think he's actually comfortable with being a star, and that's why you get those fucking mad rants that come out of his mouth about, what was he talking about? Fucking pyramids and eagles and all kinds of crazy shit. Like at the end of the fucking, like the Egyptians said when they built the pyramids, united we stand. That was. Anyway, you get me. Like, so I think he's not really comfortable with being a star, and he's kind of forced into the limelight, and that's where you get this. He just looks like a kid, an awkward kid who's not that bright, who has too much to deal with, and I think it comes out in the ring. Like, I really think he's a good fighter. I've said it before. The best thing he could do is get away from his dad and all that, but that's never going to happen. So we're just going to have to watch this space. I think he's going to be in big fights, and I think the better fighter. I think if you watch him fighting Devin Haney, it'd be a totally different performance. But we'd have to wait and see. We'd have to wait and see because the others seem to be, with the performances, the others around him seem to be kind of leaving him behind sometimes. So we'll have to wait and see. He kind of got himself back in the picture with the Taylor win. Now we'll have to wait and see where he goes. And then in terms of Hamzah Sheeraz, like, I thought he'd knock out Liam Williams. I didn't think it'd be that early. As soon as he hit him with the jab, it looked like the fight was over. Like, and I think Gary Lockett and all them did a good job throwing the towel in because Williams was going to get hurt. Big fucking unit as well. Says he wants a fight with Chris Eubank Jr. If that be at 160, I couldn't see Eubank wanting a piece of that. Like, I just don't think there'd be anything in it for him to fight that guy at 160. I think that'll be an awful fight. Style wise and everything for Eubank, I just think he's younger, fresher, hungrier. Eubank's probably looking to cash out with a payday as he should. He's not going to win a world title, so he might as well get as much money as he can. Sheeraz looks like a problem though. He's big. I always wonder with those big guys when they're so tall for the weight, like that they sometimes when they get knocked out, it's like the fucking David and Goliath thing, like, you know, that way we just crumble. Like, but we wait and see how he holds the shot as he goes up the levels. But I like the look of my man that I tipped for fucking success 2 years ago here, the Spider. I like Ibrahim, the Spider. He was on the undercard and got a nice stoppage win. Shout out to friend of the pod D2 who put me onto him a couple of years ago. Managed by JK the rapper there in Birmingham, so on to big things for him. Hopefully he gets a little bit more exposure on Matchroom and the Zone. But yeah, good weekend of sport. I like the Thursday cards as well. I'm all for a Friday night fight night as well.
Fantastic. Well, Rob Kelly's taking the weekend. Steve, I thought I had it all in, but check this out. On Saturday, February the 17th, we are going to have Shavkatzan Rakhimov, another wonderful name I love pronouncing, against Eduardo Nunes, and Nunes paying just a bit better than 3-2, so a fairly close fight in the books there. So, Joe, if you're listening, Curiel, Notshinga, and Rakhimov Nunes are both reasonably close for potential predictions.
I will just throw something in very quickly, actually, Matty. I know we like going back down memory lane, and this week I found myself rewatching a classic heavyweight encounter from 1995, which I'm sure you guys will remember, between Riddick Bowe and Cuba's Jorge Luis Gonzalez. Does anybody remember him with the funny haircut and the hair all shaved at the top and long at the back? They had a bit of beef. They were throwing glass at each other at the pre-fight press conference. It all absolutely kicked off. And then in the ring, Bowe iced him in 6 rounds, I think it was. Really good amateur was Gonzalez. But yeah, Riddick Bowe, man. I mean,
what could have been?
So much. The one fighter has had so much controversy and just craziness attached to him. I mean, we know the main ones, the Galotta, the Fan Man, but even putting that aside, he had so many bonkers incidents. And him fighting Gonzalez, the next thing you know, the Brooklyn crowd start throwing wine glasses across at each other. It's just a crazy guy, man.
But he was from Bed-Stuy, so I would imagine there was a few Cubans in as well for the other guy, and so that could have got hairy. You know, that way he was from do or die Bed-Stuy as well. Riddick Bowe in Brownsville. One of the most talented heavyweights of all time that didn't fulfill his full potential, you'd have to say. Like, fucking know he had his fights with Holyfield, but he shouldn't have threw the belt in the bin that time and not fight Lewis. That was when he lost like a lot of respect. And I think Lewis, he was just spooked by Lewis. I think he thought Lewis had his number and he didn't want to fight him. And it hurt me to say that because Bowe was like a fucking, he was going to be the heir to the Mike Tyson throne for the young boxing fan. Like he was the next most exciting guy on the block. Like he had the FILA endorsement and everything. He was going places. But his biggest downfall was his lack of discipline. Eddie Foote said he used to fucking have to spy on him when he was doing road work. Like, so he'd be like, "Did you do your road work?" He's like, "Yeah." And then he'd fucking find him at a pizza shop. So he used to have to fucking spy on him, like, to make sure he was running and everything. So a big waste of talent, you'd have to say, overall. Like, but what a fucking entertaining fighter in his day. Like, that right hand, man. Jesus Christ. Like, he'd have smashed heavyweights in today to bits.
It was that right hand, Rob, that done for Gonzalez. And the thing was, he had previous with Gonzalez because the two of them were smack talking like mad, but because Gonzalez had beat him in the Pan American Games semi-final, then gone on to beat Lennox Lewis in the Pan American Games final back as an amateur, and he'd beaten Teofimo Stevenson in '83. So Gonzalez was an absolute beast. Like he'd come up in Las Vegas, managed to get himself over from Cuba, knocked a load of people out, and then him and Bowe went to war. But Rob's right, Matty. Bowe on the inside, man, he was a quality fighter. I think his peak burnt out very quickly, but it was a classic peak. And then the 3 fights with Holyfield as well, which just kind of summed it up, man. But yeah, big Bowe fan, and just thought I would revisit one of the fights, one of the lesser known fights. I went through the 2 Elijah Tillery fights first, whenever your man Tillery was kicking away at him, and then the Gonzalez fight. And Rock Newman, absolute bonkers. He was just as bad as Bowe, man. He was fucking bonkers, and they were the perfect combination of craziness.
Right on. Excellent story, Steve. Excellent story. Just a heads up on some things that we're looking at over the next couple of months here, as I'm kind of looking at the DraftKings and what they have up there that are some fights that are interestingly close in the books. March 1st, Abbas Barrow. I don't know if I know that guy, Steve. Against everybody's friend, if they like entertaining fights, Sam Eggington. Eggington just a slight favorite in that fight.
When's this one again?
That's on March 1st.
Oh, that's from Channel 5. Is that Abbas Barrow against Sam Eggington? Did you say, Matty?
What's that?
What fight was that? Sam Eggington against who?
Yeah.
Abbas Barrow.
Aye.
Abbas Barrow actually ended the career of John O'Donnell. I was looking up John O'Donnell last night, as you do, because I saw an old press release when he fought Stephen Hockeyan. And Abbas Barrow, funnily enough, Matty, actually ended O'Donnell's career. So there you go.
He's an okay fighter, Barrow. I think he's the next Olympian for Germany, but no got the pop. Decent technician, but again, Eggington has. You just often wonder about after what he's, the mileage and what he's been through in terms of like ring wars and that. Well, it's he gets picked off at the right time by Barrow and he's just like outboxes him. But if Eggington has got anything left and he has got an engine on him still, and he's able to kind of start landing shots, I think Barrow's going to have a bit of a problem trying to keep him off him. Actually, if that is the case, but so a couple of questions there.
All right, let's see here. Then, all right. Then on the 8th, Zhang against Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker paying just a little less than 2-1 on that one. That's close. Same day, Ray Vargas against Nick Ball. Nick Ball is a favorite there. Ray Vargas paying just a little less than 3-2 as the underdog. Let's see here. On the 16th, Eric Robles against Liam Davies.
The ball's on Joe Parker taking as Eddie Zhang fight, by the way. Like totally. He could have for a guy who's already won the heavyweight title, realistically can't get a shot at a belt for the bones of 18 months, 2 years from here, and he's still like fucking trying to improve, trying to get better. Just fought Deontay Wilder onto Zhilei Zhang. Like, I don't favor him in this one, to be honest with you. Like, I can't see a way for him to win, but we'll see. Like,
excellent. Let's see here. Well, did I miss something in there?
The boys are talking about, Days was mentioning that the fan man incident, they initially thought it was an assassination attempt on Louis Farrakhan, who was mates with Riddick Bowe and was ringside, which would explain why the Nation of Islam security beat the living shit out of that guy when he fucking dropped in the crowd.
It does explain more.
Hit his head like a speed bag, man. He was getting the fucking head pinged off him.
He was a troubled man, wasn't he? James Miller, the fan man, suffice to say. And he was a peace campaigner. He said apparently afterwards he said he didn't like the violence of boxing, so he decided to come in on a paraglider and put everyone's life at risk.
But he really didn't like the violence of boxing when he landed in the fucking crowd.
Can you imagine if he actually landed up in it, actually in amongst floodlights and stuff? Hit the electrics, man. That would bring a whole new definition to the AC/DC song "High Voltage." Yeah.
I wish he just landed in front of the two of them just as fucking Bowe was about to throw an uppercut and just fucking fanned him out of the ring again on his parachute. Fucking, it would have been amazing.
What's your man's name again? Ringside. What's his manager's name again?
Rock Newman.
Rock Newman, that's the one. Oh, dude was like swinging for the heavens, that guy.
I was watching that fight live, believe it or not. We were out in the middle of the night watching that live. I couldn't fucking believe what was happening. We couldn't believe. We were like, what the fuck is happening?
20 minutes before the fight had to restart.
Lampley and all. There's a guy as coming through the ring.
Lampley was lost for words, wasn't he? This is a monumental disaster.
Actually, fucking.
Rob. No, I mean, to be fair, Rob. I mean, that fight was seen by so many people. I mean, it obviously influenced Hamas.
For fuck's sake. Moving swiftly on.
Jim could have picked a softer crowd to land.
All right. You diverted my subject. All right.
Jim Lampley has one of the greatest, and it's very telling because on this day, 34 years ago, the biggest upset in boxing history, another one that I fucking was alive for, Buster Douglas knocked out Mike Tyson in Tokyo. But after Tyson, he was pinging the head off Tyson comfortably for 8 rounds, far wide ahead on the card. Tyson was looking fucking sluggish, looking like he's probably fucking had a rough night out in Japan the night before. He's no fucking ice in the corner. They're pouring water on his neck. There's no Rooney. It's all falling apart. And in the 8th round, I think he fucking pulls an uppercut out of nowhere, and that's where the long count came in. Like when they got Douglas, and he fucking dropped him. But Lampley afterwards said, Douglas got a little overconfident, got a little loose. He goes, got a little overconfident. Got a little loosey-goosey. I've never heard that fucking phrase before or after in a commentary fight in boxing terms. He got a little loosey-goosey. Loosey-goosey. He got his fucking head flown out of the ring. Fuck me.
Oh, back on the train here. Let's see here. The card on the 30th with Tim Tszyu and Keith Thurman. Thurman paying 5-1 as an underdog. Big underdog there. Isaac Cruz opening up as a fairly substantial favorite over Rolly Romero, who's paying almost 2-1. And Sergey Bahuchik is paying about 3-2 as an underdog to Sebastian Fundora. And I got to tell you, Andy, my hunch on that one is if dude's getting like stopped by Brandon Adams, I think you're going to probably get stopped by Sebastian Fundora. Just my hunch.
I think if you're looking for value there in the underdogs, you got to go for Rolly. Like I think Rolly's got him with a shout of beating Cruz.
Yeah, it's Cruz at 140. He's just I don't know, man. I just don't see it.
I think Rolly's going to beat him. There's my hot take for the night.
Yeah, I feel it's Rolly's time. This is Rolly time.
Yes,
it's about time, motherfucker. Jesus. Joe Burnstone in 499 says, love to the boys on the pod and the Nutters in the WhatsApp group. Yes, they're fantastic.
How are all the boys doing on their fitness journey, by the way?
They're doing well. Doing well.
Yeah.
See here.
On the 13th, all the guys are in credit.
On the 13th, Jordan Gill against Zelfa Barrett. With Zelfa Barrett, God, he's paying, 1-2 on that, basically as a favorite. So pretty big favorite for Zelfa Barrett. You got to be thinking size difference. The odds books are playing on there. Not a lot to prove that of your 130 cred by knocking out Mick Conlon, who should be at 122, huh, Steve?
Yes, I think, yeah.
All right.
Is Gill's fighting Barrett, did you say, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about Mick, man. I think he's going to have to take a long, hard look. Even if he comes back and beats someone, they put him in a couple of guys of a lesser level. Where's it going to end? As soon as he steps back up again, he's going to be dancing on a tightrope again, isn't he? So it's a difficult comeback for him.
Yeah. Interesting. In a couple weeks after that, an interesting rematch. I'm kind of shocked that they have it up here this early. I mean, it's not. These guys aren't deep resumes. They haven't had a lot of fights between them. But Jericho O'Quinn and Peter McGrail going at it again. You might remember that fight. McGrail was working Jericho O'Quinn over until he landed a right hand from hell against the ropes there, registering a knockout of the year candidate there. So that is a fairly interesting rematch going on there with O'Quinn paying like 5-2. Let's see here. And I'm sorry, I do my best to transfer these fractions for you guys. Let's see here. Opataya, big favorite against Bradis in that rematch. Fury slowly leaking down with Usyk paying dead even money now. And Beterbiev against Bivol is a basic pick'em with the books.
Interesting. I would have had Bataria favorite there, but I can see why. Like I think Bivol has a chance of beating him for sure, but I would have thought Bataria would be favorite there. And what's the other one? You said Usyk is even money. I could see that now as well. With the longer the fucking fight goes without happening, I think the general consensus in the boxing public is that Fury's ducking Usyk, isn't it? So you can see why the money's going on him, but. The longer the fight takes before the happening, I still think Fury will beat him, but we'll talk about it when it happens, if it happens.
It might be one of those fights where you got to look at the numbers and see what they are for an over-under and for the fight to go the distance, because my hunch is that either Fury has something left and he's able to big man and bully Usyk, or Fury is done and Usyk is going to use his feet, use his hand speed, and just light him up. And we're going to know in about 3 rounds what way it'll go.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see the thing about these big fights that get put off is that by the time they get made, generally one of them is not what they were. So you look at Floyd and Manny, it took 5 years to make. Floyd won comfortably. I think he always would have beaten Manny Pacquiao, but people say that version of Manny wasn't what he was, like, or whatever. He'd been knocked out by Marquez. He fucking had close fights with Bradley. He wasn't. He was there. They reckon he was there for the taking or whatever, right?
He touched Floyd pretty well in the 4th.
He caught him twice, I think, in a fight where Floyd just covered up and wrapped him up. Didn't he? Like, he wasn't gonna get out of hand, but he definitely rocked him for sure. But and then there was Crawford Spence. Like, by the time Crawford got Spence, you can say what you want. Like, I gave Crawford for the performance. Like, but we wanted to see it when Spence was fit and younger. That way they should have fought before Spence unified, but that's not the way the business goes. But it's just generally when they make you wait, one of them lets you down, like, for big fights.
Well, and sometimes even when they meet in their prime, it just ends up being a little bit of a bummer. Or, there's fuckery about and stuff like that. Like, I have to
people said that at the time about James Toney or Roy Jones, but I think in retrospect you look back, like, just fucking Jones was just too good. Like, on the nights when they both met prime for prime, Jones was just better. Like.
Canelo Golovkin, remember we waited for that one, and then they got the skull fuckery with the decision in the first fight.
Yeah, Golovkin definitely won the first fight, no question about it.
I think Whitaker and Chavez fought each other when they were both at or near their peak. I think that was pretty fair game on that one. Shit decision.
Oh yeah, the shittiest of decisions.
Biggest robbery of all time.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah, Trinidad and De La Hoya. I think they're both about at their best there. You might even extend that.
I had that draw, by the way.
Yeah, you might even extend that over. You might even extend that over to Mosley against De La Hoya the first time around.
100%. 100%. They were close to their primes when fucking Mosley and De La Hoya first fought.
First fight was a great fight. To the speed of the pair of
them. Yeah, unbelievable.
I'm trying to see something. I came across all scorecards that I'd written down in the past. I'm trying to see if that fight was on it. I'm sure. Give me a second.
Gonna see Andy on an episode of Hoarders.
It's just all these handwritten notes.
Fucking throw you out before I throw out shit. Fuck that.
Fucking right, man. I've got boxes fucking full of shit, man.
What are you going to do with all that? Was one of our best questions. That's off your head now in a minute if you don't fucking stop asking me about it.
Scotsman who doesn't want to throw anything out. Fucking first in nature, huh?
I was saying to Steve Friday night, actually. I've been looking for this book for the last 3 or 4 years. Can't I get it anywhere? Can't I get it on eBay? Can I get it on Amazon? And can I get it at the library? I says, can I get a copy at the library? Can you order me in? He says, no, you need to get it in PDF. I says, well, come into the library and read it. I'm like, I ain't doing that. I like to sit back and read. And I shit you not, I went to this local charity shop. Did you know? No, I just fucking first book I looked at and pulled out. It was the fucking book I've been looking for.
No, fuck away.
Seriously, dude. Seriously.
Hey, Michael Thompson says Duran versus Leonard were both at their best. What do you think that?
But
Andy?
we didn't have to wait that out. That's why I'm talking about fights that you have to wait out. Like, and then when you get them, they kind of fought straight away. Like.
Theoretically, some people were kind of saying that maybe Duran had maybe seen better days at that point because he was 30. He had
been on that big lightweight run.
You think about it. I mean, Duran practically had an entire career as 60-odd fights as a lightweight before he went up
say that,
another 20 years.
Exactly.
It's a bit like when I say fucking Calzaghe fucking beat old man B-Hop, and then B-Hop went and beat fucking 5 or 6 world champions after that for the next 10 years. It's like Duran fucking fought for another 30 years and won the middleweight title. Like,
ended up at light heavy.
I ain't fighting a light heavyweight. Aye, fucking Jesus. It's true though. You know what I'm saying? That's probably like his absolute zenith, Duran against Leonard, that first fight, and then it was just like he'd crashed, and then it took about 3 or 4 years to get the fucking uptick again.
And Leonard and Hearns met in their prime too. You could say fucking Leonard made Hagler wait it out alright. He fucking played a cute one there, but Leonard and Hearns met in their primes.
Hagler and Hearns probably met in their primes. Then you'd have to say.
Let's talk about loads of fights that got made. Everyone used to fucking fight in their primes back in the days, guys. It's a different landscape. You know what I mean?
Well, and again, I mean, the 90s were kind of
right Daz these days, eh? We're fucking moaning about the state.
I think it kind of started shifting, like mid 2000 decade, right? And it's just been a little different, kind of the last 20 years, give or take. I mean, there are always fights that didn't happen and shit like that. Got Bowe throwing the fucking title in the trash can and shit. But I think there was kind of some recognition that everybody had to work together to make money, and that might have been because there were only so many outlets for boxing, and now there's fucking 50 places and subscriptions and pay-per-views and holy fuck.
Like back in like if you were into boxing back in the day, you had to be really into it. Like so, you had to kind of read the boxing monthlies and the rings and all that because you're only really getting it shown on terrestrial television as part of like a magazine sports show, or the really, really big fights were shown, you know, that way. Like, but other than that, like if you're into it, you had to really follow the shit. Like, so I think that's why fellas of our age, me and Andy and like Steve, a little bit less like younger than us, but or whatever. But I think it's like when you kind of come from that era before the internet, you kind of just hold on to more stuff because you have to read more, you know, that way. Like, it's just the way you take the information in. Like,
yeah, everybody's laughing now until Andy has this portable DVD player that runs off of solar power, and he can watch fights from 30 years ago.
Video cassettes, man, on long play.
I'm telling you, Bowe. See when the fucking 3-minute warning comes, you're all fucked because you've all relied on your internet and all your IT stuff and that. Well, I've got the backups, I've got the hard copies. Fuck you all.
Such a odds, yeah.
So I've got something to keep me busy while you're all up top fucking burning to death.
Well, the Scottish Wildcats officially going extinct because you guys delete those fuckers in a pinch.
There's a book that my dad bought me when I was about 10. It's a guy called Peter J. Arnold. It was another version of the pictorial history of boxing, but it wasn't the Nat Fleischer version, right? Big fucking massive book, loads of brilliant pictures in it, records in it, color photos. It was unreal, right? But my dad used to hang on to it in his gaff or whatever, right? So one of the signs that he had dementia, he had me convinced that this kid that had trouble at home with the parents, that he used to kind of latch on to my dad used to train his dogs and that for him. Like, he had me convinced that fucker was after stealing that book, right? And he's like, I'm fucking telling you, that cunt come in here and he stole that book. I was like, Dad, don't be saying that about him. I'm fucking telling you that I found it in the drawer. He was after hiding it himself. So I was like, oh shit, where's this going? Shit.
Hey, I've got one more for you guys that came to mind. Calzaghe and Kessler. Was Calzaghe post-prime?
No, that was Calzaghe probably just coming toward the
at the end of the prime, would you say?
Yeah,
right
just
at
coming
the end.
toward the end there,
That's his best performance, isn't it, outside of Lacey? Surely.
Brilliant.
First 4 rounds, that was so competitive. You would think, ooh, this could go down, because I remember when Kessler landed 2 massive right uppercuts on Calzaghe, pretty rapid successions, and the second one when it landed, Calzaghe literally, I wouldn't say collapse is the wrong word, but kind of like sagged into Kessler, kind of held on him a wee bit and get that air back in, take that minute. But then by the middle half of the fight, Calzaghe just upped the pace. Just upped the pace, up the
that was some going, by the way.
Yeah, shots to the body and all. Calzaghe was brilliant that night, the way he turned the fight around, because it was slipping away from him, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. And like you know me, like I fucking slaughtered Joe Calzaghe, but you have to give him credit for that fight because Kessler was a right good fighter. He probably came at the wrong time. Like look at the guys he had to come up against. Froch, beat Froch the first time, lost the second one. Came up against Calzaghe, lost to Andre Ward. Like he lost the guys that were probably Hall of Fame fighters. Like at any other time, he might have had a decent run at super middleweight and beaten what was there because he was a fucking fit guy as well. Like he'd go to the well, like but. Calzaghe was brilliant that night, definitely. I think that was his best performance outside the Lacey one. Because I think Lacey was still untested, kind of.
Yeah, we didn't know what Lacey was afterwards, but we knew what Kessler was.
Exactly.
And here's a simple fact about that Lacey victory. If your name is Left Hook Lacey, I'm going to move to my own left.
Good point.
Giving it up there. Okay. I mean, anyhow, should have just gone by Body Shot Guy.
anyone that's into boxing books, by the way, where we're talking about it, I might have mentioned this previously on the pod because my memory is a little bit hazy, as you know.
You should talk to Keyshawn Davis about that one.
But there's an unbelievable book. It was called Frank Warren's International Boxing fucking something 1988, right? It was a recap of fucking 1987, all color photos. But at the back of it, it has tons of records. Like I know you can get them on BoxRec and all that, but like it's fucking you get the photos with him and the signed photos and all that kind of carry on. But you can get it on secondhand now, like for like £4 online. So any boxing book collectors worth having in your collection just for the records alone.
Right on. Well, hey, I think I've done enough for us to be able to get it over the 2.5 mark. So
more than enough, Matty. Well done.
So fantastic. Well, we reached for the stars and we have found our way into space. Good for us. So Steve, I guess I'll hand it over to you for the Bellew of the week.
Thank you, Matty. We reach for the stars and end up at Abraham Nova. Who knows where else we're going to end up here for Bellew of the Week, episode 559. Andy's here, Rob's here, Matty's here, and me, Steve. To play us in, we have an old favourite from Floyd. He's pretending that he's got friends again. Let's have a look.
Yo no soy marinero. Yo no soy marinero. Soy capitán. Soy capitán. Soy capitán.
I fucking love that song.
What a guy. Gonna get us kicked off YouTube, the bastards.
With the song, exactly.
He's on our IG the last couple of days, so he's paid off his debt to the IRS, $18 million, I believe, if the check's real. Wells Fargo, so that's where he trusts his money away.
Cuba.
And then I see he's spunked to hundreds of thousands for milli for Super Bowl suite at the stadium tonight. So
bringing all his friends, he spent 1.2 million. That's what I'm saying. If I was in that video and he was singing Bala La Bamba, I'd be up in the back with some maracas and a big Mexican hat on me, getting a free ticket to the Super Bowl. I'd be Floyd's friend all day, man.
Cigars either.
It's terrible what happened to Richie Valens.
No, you guys have all seen the movie La Bamba, haven't you? About the life of Richie Valens.
Jesus Christ!
You want to talk about prime? That's a prime Lou Diamond Phillips right there, friends.
There we are. Prime for prime. Lou Diamond Phillips getting a mention here.
Prime for prime. Lou Diamond Phillips or Emilio Estevez.
Dude, I'm sorry. As much as I love La Bamba, Young Guns over La Bamba.
There we go.
Wesley Pipes. What the fuck?
This is Rick Glazer.
That's the name of the fucking the pipe that they had on Half Baked. They had Wesley Pipes and Billy Bong Thornton.
Well, Rick Glazer's going in on the PBC anyway. He's talking about Canelo, the date. He's in question if it's ever going to happen. Several boxing executives Rick's talked to. He's talking to boxing executives all the time, this fella. Says that Canelo's demanding his guarantee, etc. Wesley Pipes says, to be honest, it's extremely hard to believe y'all when y'all say stuff like this, knowing y'all are very biased against PBC now. If a neutral person was reporting this, it'd be more believable. And Rick says, go take a Johnson hard.
Which might not be fucking beyond the realms of possibility, because that guy's name is Wesley Pipes, the Big D Bandit. I'm wondering, is it the porn star or the same name? Might be able to find out how Johnson within reach, probably. Most days.
I would imagine he would be verified, wouldn't you, Rob?
I don't know, maybe he's not paying for the blue tick like me. He's like, fuck you, Elon. Take my blue tick back. I don't want this. What does it fucking get you? Nothing.
Oh dear, Rick's
People
going
used
in.
to say that to me, like fucking, like people, oh, you're verified on Twitter. I'd be like, yeah, fucking so what? Like, I didn't get anything for that. Like, not 1 penny did I get for being fucking verified on Twitter. What does that mean? Nothing. Like,
Verification.
Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Bet as much as this. There she is.
Verified.
AI verified.
Terrified me
Who's
like
this?
it, man.
That's Oscar's missus.
That's Oscar's
It's
missus,
just, yeah.
mate. That's what
I
I
thought it
said.
was Tulisa.
That's what I said to you last week. Did you not see her sitting at the ringside there last week? Oscar, man, says that's AI generated.
She's looking well this week, now, in fairness to her.
I deep fake.
Fucking. They're like
Deep
pumping
face.
a Lilo, man. Fucking hell.
I love the way she's got the Golden Boy necklace there.
Oh, she's fucking full team member, like, you know.
Yeah.
Fully paid up.
She's repping the team. That looks like a very expensive chain. Looks like a fucking St. Christopher. Oscar, for fuck's sake, man.
It's Oscar's dog lead.
I bet she's got something in common with Oscar's proctologist.
I bet you she's fucking dead behind the eyes for a reason.
Talking to dead beyond the eyes. There's the bomber. Jumping on Common Sense podcast with Joey Barton.
Oh, fucking hell.
Dead beyond the ears.
Way to make your claim, Common Sense podcast.
Oh,
Right?
my God.
Aye, the bomber. Well, Rob, what he might be talking about is, or might not, who knows, it might get mentioned. The bomber is now in the Hall of Fame.
Fucking
What Hall of Fame, you
what?
might ask? The Matchroom Boxing Hall of Fame.
Oh, well, he's in there with some esteemed fucking company, isn't he? Like, he's
Aye,
got
Chris
himself, Darren Barker,
Chris Lloyd.
Sky Nicholson. She's straight in.
First ballot.
Sky
First
Nicholson
ballot
has
Hall
her
of-
own
She's a
wing drop.
first ballot Matchroom Hall of Famer, Sky Nicholson.
Kell Brook.
Aye.
Baby.
50,000 votes, man. There you
Carl
go.
Frot's surely in there, isn't he?
Yeah,
Oh, he's
much
got to
have
be,
been there
man.
as well.
First ballot.
Yep.
Or inaugural entry, I think.
Well, I'd say it's what a lot of fighters aim for in their lives when they set out and embark on their journeys. They hope one day to be inducted into the Matchroom Boxing Hall of Fame.
Ted Cheeseman.
Harvey
Purdy.
Harvey Hyde is in there as well.
I think the dancing.
Look at Lee Haskins gets presented to people. People forget who he is because yes, they got his name on his trunks.
Someone in the Nuthouse chat said the place was vacant. Oh, Scotty Cardle as well. That's a good one.
Scott Cardle.
Wonder whether they're going to have a fundraising event for cervical fluid awareness.
Well, let's hope so, Matty. You'll be there anyway with the
Bring
pizza.
him.
£6.
They're sponsoring Chicks with Dig. I heard.
Bring back Herbie Hyde.
I
You
can
know,
guarantee.
the British Ali.
Aye. Linares should be in there, says Thompson.
Linares should be in there. Amazing.
Eric
Sure
Molina.
shined his way into the Hall of Fame.
Well, if that's the case, if Linares should be there, then so should fucking Canelo.
I definitely flip me.
He's beat up all the fucking Brits with Matchroom. Jesus
Rocky
Christ.
feelings in there.
Oh my god.
Billy Joe Saunders.
No, I Billy as well.
Yeah.
All the fans. Martin Murray.
Matt Murray's in there. No, Matt Murray was nominated a whole load of times, but he
Never got in.
Lost it the fifth time I asked him.
You guys are some cold bastards.
Oh dear. Curtis Woodhouse is casting some shade on Con. He says 2 fights against average opponents, landed at will in both fights with every power shot he has. No drugs equals no knockdowns. Where's his explosive power gone? If he walks like a duck and quacks like, it's a fucking duck, says Curtis Woodhouse. Well, Curtis might not have taken into account this guy, Fazio Riasati, who he said lost $1,000 on you, mate, to stop him inside 12. Gutted as that dipstick Dobson would be done inside 3 minimum. That was my biggest bet ever and lost. Really down about it. So I need to save it, take months, my own decision, obviously. Love the way you fight, says Fazio. Who's Fazio, you might say at home? Well, let me tell you, he's a he's a sports analyst and betting tipster.
So,
and he made that his biggest bet. Well, fuck me. He's a guy to be trusted. He's going to be around a long time.
Shit
This
I
guy.
do, but for $1,000, I would spend like $5 on shit like that.
So another online grifter. Fucking wanker.
It's mad how people believe their own hype. Like, how did he fucking decide he's a sports analyst and betting tipster? And he spunked a grand on fucking Ben versus Pistol Pete at fucking 7:30 in the morning. What's wrong with this guy? Like,
to be fair, sports analyst is a pretty broad term. I mean, if you watch sports, yeah.
Are we sport analysts, Matty? You could be a betting tipster.
Yes, we are. Yes,
yeah, but we're not like
we're
not like self-proclaimed ones, are we? Like, people might say that's what we are, or just lads who talk about boxing, but I don't think you hear us fucking coming out and saying we're sports analyst. Rob Kelly is going to take us into fucking Bellew of the week here.
Yeah, in the fucked up world of language, yes, Steve, we are sports analysts. Just as when I was an assistant golf pro, I was technically a professional athlete.
Fuck off.
Put that on your WordPress, Matty.
Exactly.
Stick it on your tombstone, you cunt. Fucking hell.
Former pro athlete.
It's part of my argument that golf is a game and not a sport, but that's for a different podcast.
Yes, really sport. Is it like that? It's like not really sport.
As Matt Stanton said, fucking analyst.
Analyst.
Well, Donny, I suppose.
Oh,
actually, if you put that back up, Steve, if Donnie sees that, he's thinking
I've done analyst.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Shout out to Donny. All right, let's move on. This one.
Don't shout him out because he'll come on in fucking 2 minutes when it's about to be over and just go, what? You guys said what? Hold on. What was that?
Wait, what? Oh, I was going to read this. This is what I'm
Donnie's the white Chuck
quality.
Oh, this is a good one. This is an interview apparently back in the day with Razor Ruddock. It was Razor Ruddock, wasn't it,
Razor
Andy?
Ruddock,
This one that came in. This one came in late last Sunday after the pod, so I'm trying to remember it now. KO magazine said to him, Razor, as a child, you once put on one of your mother's dresses, ran away from home, and hid in a cemetery. Relate that story to the readers. Razor Ruddock, very angrily. Who told you this? KO, it's also in your press release. Razor, you're kidding. KO, I'm telling you the truth. Razor, I didn't tell Mohammed, that is, to put this in no paper. I told Murad and those guys that in confidence, for their own entertainment, for their own enjoyment. I don't think they should have gone and put that in the paper. That was between me and my family and the few people I told. You know something?
It's a tough one saying that to a 6'5" Jamaican, isn't it? What you used to put on a dress, pal, when you were a kid.
Hey, all I'm going to say is this: Cat Williams is right.
That was a good one we ever found.
It's hot enough. You're putting on dresses. What the fuck are you doing running to a cemetery in the dress? What was the thought process? And I want to go look pretty next to grandma.
But the thing is, so Steve, did
well,
you not see the picture of fucking Ruddock when he stood up to get his against James Toney? I'll stick the picture on. Download that one. Please pick that up. This is a relation to that one. You need to go into anybody listening. We need to go into YouTube to actually see this, to actually kind of correlate.
Oh yes, I think at the time I cut this, didn't I, and put it up as part of Bellew of the Week. That's right. That was during the infamous Tony Ruddock fight. Where was that? In the Bahamas, or was it? A few months ago.
A few months back, aye.
Yeah. No, I
it's in Jamaica, wasn't it?
Oh, was it in Jamaica? Yeah, it might have been in Jamaica. Yeah, that's right.
We're playing.
That's right.
The great return for Razor Ruddock. That's right. Yeah, that was a good one. Whoever put that in anyway.
Oh,
there you go.
He'd been taking female hormones anyway for us. Right?
I thought that was. I'm not even going to say who I thought that was. Just going fucking down out there.
You can see why he kind of correlated with the dress a wee bit there, you know.
His ring name should have been the Pastel Tombstone.
I love the way they fucking dyed James Toney's beard back black for the fucking fight as well. By the way, nobody picked up on that. Motherfucker's had a white beard for 10 years. He turns out with a fucking
rolling back the years, Rob.
This is it.
Oh dear, there's some good ones this week. Rick Glazer again, sneaking in here. Someone revisited this one back from the Corona days. Rick tweeted out, because of the coronavirus, my wife and I will not be eating any Chinese food until this epidemic is straightened out. It's not the fear, but we all need to penalise the Chinese everywhere for this worldwide outbreak. Well, that was the famous tweet, but the lesser-known tweet was Rick quote tweeted himself and said, "Remember this tweet? A local Chinese food delivery spot just called me and said in broken English, 'You no order lately. You all right?' I replied, 'Fuck you and Chinese food.' Yes, I continue to penalise anything associated with the word China for lying to the world about coronavirus.
Well,
I'll
let's
take
show them.
things that never happened for 600, Alex.
Good love a man, that principle, eh?
That 1.8 billion population shaking in their boots at the Conor McGlazer not fucking buying Chinese food in America. They must nearly have the fucking regime on its knees.
Xi Jinping shit his pants.
Well, here's another good one as well. Somewhat Carlos Estrada tweeted, "Who is this? Wrong answers only." And Lou DiBella tweets out, "Rick Glazer?" ? Someone tagged in Rick. We're waiting for his response. That was earlier today, though. Oh, man.
I think it's going to be something along the lines of, "Lou, you fake ass promoter, why did you take Hard Johnson?" Something like that.
He hates DiBella as well, doesn't he, Glazer?
He's going to have to change his language up. What do you think that'll go with Stiff Richard next time?
No, probably. He's loving life, is Rick. Talking to all these major promoters.
His wife has to love it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure she does.
Life
Sonia.
with Rick has to be great.
Someone nominated Hamzah Sheeraz for turning up looking like, was it, Matty, a cheap Las Vegas magician?
It was a Bond villain, actually.
I thought it was your man Rylan. What's his name?
Please tell me you've got a fucking picture of that cunt on TNT by fucking.
Oh no,
anchor.
nobody sent me a picture of him actually.
Sideshow
Bob, yeah, I've
fucking
seen him.
certain that was him.
Where did they get him from? I've never seen him before.
He looks
The Simpsons.
He looks like an usher at the Source Award.
That's what we got him for. Fucking Springfield nuclear power plant, but looks at it. It's better for Reece rounds.
We've got a couple of Fury ones coming in. First of all, Tyson got nominated on the Twat Facebook page for his parking in Chester.
Fuck's sake.
On the double yellers. He's old Tyson. But could be worse.
Wants.
Tommy Fury, Comic Con Manchester Group, Comic Con Manchester has a guest announcement. Tommy Fury's turning up. They are Comic Con.
I think that's a better place than a
Comic Con.
box.
Isn't that the thing where all the fucking fully grown men dress up as fucking Batman and all they go to the convention together to talk about comics?
And Holly.
Why is Tommy Fury going to that? Like, is there a big Love Island crossover with the comic book fraternity? I don't know, man. It's an odd fucking. Well, look at. Good luck to him.
Fucking clown shoes.
We wish him.
Exactly.
Yeah, the guys that are going to the comic, get a fucking life for yourselves. You guys want to fucking talk about comics? Grow up, will you? What's the matter with you?
We can only imagine what they're doing this time on a Sunday night.
Not hanging out with the real players at the box of the Asylum, I tell you that.
Matty ahead on the CompuBox numbers there. Connor, Ben, and Jonta Davis were beefing back and forward. I'm not sure when this was from, but Connor put out his hit list. He says, Haney, Eubank Jr., Spence, Buck, Barrios, any of them above Eddie Hearn, #Destroyer. Javonta says, no funny. The way you looked last night, give me 3 weeks and a weekend in Turks and yo ass is grass. You hear me? And then Connor come back and says, oh, here is the woman beating Munchkin from Oz. Let's do it next. And then, don't be all talk either, you little shrimp. Eddie, drop the Munchkin a DM and get this fight made next. I'm sure you'll screenshot the conversation anyway, so we'll see who's full of shit. See you soon. There you go. Ask whooping.
Begging for a payday, man.
I'll be waiting, says Javonta. And tags him in, so.
He'll be waiting fucking even longer, I think, Javonta. Eddie can't even get Lee Wood a fight at fucking City Ground.
Like, I don't like want to, like try to prime him too much on this, but if you put Gervonta Davis in the ring with Conor Benn, I will pay money to fucking watch that shit.
On pay-per-view, Matty? On pay-per-view?
Fuck yeah. Well, I'll watch that happen. That'd be
you're
great.
in luck. You're in luck because you can pay for it because Eddie thinks it's a goer.
Right. When I start thinking about how exciting that fight can be, the narrative of that fight, the build-up of that fight, the fact that Gervonta Davis is a huge star in America, Conor Benn is making his way in America, but he's a massive name over here. That's a huge pay-per-view on both sides of the Atlantic. And I know that Conor Benn is not yet a huge American name. But mate, when you start telling the story of Conor Benn, the legacy, the history, the controversy, and you throw that into a Gervonta Davis fight, you've got a big fight there. So we've been running the numbers with DAZN over the last couple of days. And today, I will be presenting an offer to Gervonta Davis. No doubt it'll appear on your social media later when he's.
Fucking A, cash him in, Eddie. Cash him in.
Fucking hell, man.
Give me a fucking break, will you? An offer for what? You can't fucking offer. You're not calling the shots for fucking Javonte Davis. They're fucking you're going to get out of be all upset
They
again.
offered Javonte Davis, man. What the fuck can you offer him? He's just going to tell you, go and spin on it, man. Fucking you do.
Oh, wait, when you fucking hear the legacy and the controversy, Andy, you're not factoring that in. They're running the numbers with his own.
The controversy, how he failed fucking 2 drug tests and he still claims he's innocent. The cunt is he's gagging for a payday because he has got a lifestyle to lead. He has got cars. He has got house. He has houses, probably, sorry. He's got family. Right, he has got fucking lawyers' fees to pay. He's got specialists fucking to pay. He's got to buy his fucking eggs for abroad, for fuck's sake, man. All that import tax and all this shit on top of it. The guy's got money problems. That's basically it. He's fucking money problems.
Maybe he should fight Adrian Broner then.
Have some narrative.
I would not pay to watch
Imagine
that.
AB on them heated seats in the back. What he'd be up
that's
to?
probably fucking not. That's probably not that far away. A fight between, because they're not going to be able to get a fight from him in the UK. They're not going to be able to get a fucking any of the top guys to fight him in the States because he's not worth fucking piss over there, boiled. So AB take that fight with Don King Promotions. Yeah, lordy. Lordy.
He was apparently squared up to fucking Robert Smith last night at the fight. So there's a picture on IFL about it.
Yeah, here we are. This is the next one. There you go. Bumping into the General Secretary, ready to roll. Him versus Rob. Rob's a former fighter. Let's get it on.
But he's fucking almost like 90-year-old, for fuck's sake, man. It doesn't matter. Fucking dick.
Yeah, get the
Well, he's definitely winning people over, I think.
But he's apparently a massive name area. Who the fuck?
You want to fuck off, man. He looks like he's wearing one of them, you know, them aprons that they sell in Lanzarote, like with the fucking fake bodies on him, with his fake abs.
He's definitely flexing for that man there. Eh?
That's it, the ab implant. Like, he's fucking rest of his body is a middle-aged man body, and he has abs. Fucking, he's got like the surgery to get the abs, isn't he? He'd be looking out.
Do that?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Huh? I didn't even know.
I wonder where he got the idea to get those.
Like them, look at Matty.
Look at him. He's got it. Look at the rest of his body. Looks like a fucking nearly 50-year-old, and he's fucking got the abs of fucking David Hasselhoff fucking lasered onto his fucking body.
He's got a gad bod.
This is Fight Club.
You shower after you iron.
I don't know if I burned my cock, mate.
Oscar is probably just turning 50 this year, I think, because I think he was 18 when he won the medal in '92.
Doesn't matter. He's fucking closer to the exit.
And he fucking never had abs like that when he was 18, by the way. So they're definitely a fucking laser job.
Well,
Fuck me.
Oscar's gone down in the world for sure because now he's a victim of
Not
the
for
likes
the first
of
time, I'm sure.
Danny Young.
Amazing.
Well, or even further down, Damo. Nutters have been putting in any overtime this week.
Get yourselves a life.
Bad bastards, man. Oh dear me.
They could have done more now. They could have done more, to be honest with you. When you think about it.
I think they quit while they're ahead, Rob.
Yeah, exactly.
Floyd Mayweather. Everyone check out my new vape line. At Mayweather.vapes. They are out the metaverse. The Money Team vapes.
This is it.
The
Here they're going to be big, the vapes. He's in early on these.
Oh, good old Floyd. Those are all the ones I think I've got at the moment. What have you got for us this week, Matthew?
I don't know. I don't think I have anything this week, unfortunately.
That's okay. Nothing
I'll play the role of Oz since you can't stop.
Nothing from Oz.
Nothing from Oz this week.
Rob, what have you got for us?
I just have Theo for his post-fight speech where he said, as the Egyptians said when they built the pyramids, united we stand. And I thought, fucking everybody knows the Egyptians didn't build those pyramids, shithead. How the fuck did they do it? Got a crane, did they? Fucking made a crane out of fucking sand or something. Come on.
Picked up those blocks of stone by the power of will.
He looks like fucking he's fucking fresh out of the Beta video there, doesn't he? Going off
Dead
the pool
fool
against some
was
bad
the
guys.
Dead fool.
Dead fool.
Oh dear, that was a good one. Is that all from you, Rob? Yep.
Yeah, just Theo.
Oh yeah, we had John. I forgot to upload that one. Andy, anything from you, please?
Yeah, just the Carol Froch response to John Fury, man. That was absolutely epic. It was so good that even Talksport picked it up. So.
Oh yeah, that was brilliant. By the way, sorry
That
we
was
skipped over that
quality,
one.
man.
Froch fucking getting back to Fury. You can tell Froch is mates with Poggy in it because it feels like fucking Poggy ghost wrote that fucking whole fucking thing for that whole bit for Froch. Like,
what I love as well, Froch has actually got the missus there standing filming him. As
she's cracking up laughing when they're doing
she's
it. It's
fucking like egging him on, basically. The Cobra.
I've definitely warmed to Froch since he's like taking it back, since he started doing his own shit. Like you can see his proper personality. Like he's a funny bastard, really. Like
just basically, John Fury, you'll do fucking nothing. Basically, you're not going to walk up to me and do nothing.
Yeah, I haven't fight since you got out to make. He said to him.
Exactly, that was quality. But I guess we laugh at John Fury. John Fury goes like that. He says, "I'll fight you, lad. I'll fight you at Wembley Stadium in front of 92,000." Right? He says, "But this is his quote. But." The terms is going to be right.
Yeah, the business has got to be right.
Like business sense. This is a business. It's going to make business sense. I'm like, this fucking prick. If
it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Am I right?
Jesus.
In front of 93,000, he said, in front of Wembley Stadium.
He's telling Carol Froch. Carol Froch, she said, like, the Cobra's still in shape. You're like a 75-year-old granddad. The Cobra's you fucking job.
Carl's putting $20,000 of nose work on the line as well.
I don't know. I think there's owner running the numbers there to see can they get that 93,000 at Wembley spot.
The poster tagline: an eye for an eye.
An eye for a nose.
An eye for a nose. Oh, brilliant. Is that all yours, Andy?
I won for Romanov for getting iced off that Chinese jobber last night. By we talk about fucking faulty goods getting returned to server. Fucking hell.
Good stuff. Right, so we had Eddie talking Javonta, we had Mayweather doing his dancing, and what else did we have? Let's go through them very quickly. Rick Glazer was featured as usual. We had the bomber going on with Barton and being entered into the Hall of Fame. Curtis Woodhouse going in with Ben. We had Fazzo there. He is a sports analyst and betting tipster, in case you didn't know. We had Razor Ruddock. That was a good one there. The interview with KO Magazine. A bit more Glazer and a little bit more just for good measure. We had Hamzah Sheeraz. We had Fury's parking. We had the other Fury turning up at Comic-Con. We had the whole back and forward beef between Javonta Davis and Conor Benn. Robert Smith got thrown in as well. We then had Oscar's missus and Oscar himself getting lampooned by the Nutters.
It was a good week.
It was a very good week, wasn't it? Flip me. There's quite a few here, actually. I'm thinking of Floyd Mayweather with the vapes as well, Matty. It's a good week, and you can start us off strong. Who are you going for?
As crazy as it is, Steve, considering all this modern material we have here, I got to go back a quarter century to Razor Ruddock.
Yes.
That's one of the very few times I've laughed so hard at something during the Bellew of the week where I have cried. That was fucking great.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, I'll go for that as well. Even
I'm
though
the same.
week, and
it's brilliant when you read it in Razor's voice as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Put this in no paper.
I'm just thinking about this like 6 black guy raging, this story getting told about him going about the women's dress, and then I'm thinking about my head's going back to that Cat Williams interview.
Imagine that was some uncomfortable conversation when he catches up with the two boys. You put it in a press release.
He must have pissed him off. There has to be a backstory.
And then like 30 years later, he turns up with fucking a pair of nipples. He needs a B-cup wrapper, man. Fucking something's going on there. Like,
who would have thought Andy Murad Muhammad would pull such a stunt on somebody? Nobody saw that coming.
I can Razor Ruddock in a fucking cemetery wearing a dress. That's quality.
What an image, Rob. The three of us have gone for that. What are you going for?
No, it has to be that now. Like, would have been Eddie talking up fucking Javonta and fucking Ben other than that, but I'm just Ben. I'm sick of Ben at this stage. I don't want to talk about it, but that's brilliant. Like Razor. What a fighter, by the way. Good fighter.
Yep, very, very good fighter was Razor Ruddock. But this week, he is the Bellew of the Week for episode 559. Congratulations to you, Razor Ruddock. Quick shout out before we hand back to Matty to Ruben B, who joined us over at patreon.com/boxing asylum. He's in the Nutters group. He's making predictions as we speak. Shout out to Joe Kennedy. Special thanks to him behind the scenes for running the prediction league, and to Danny Young for compiling all the Bellew of the Weeks for me as well. Great work by the boys there. Unheralded, unrivaled work. Matty, back to you.
Fantastic work. It was an enjoyable time. And I believe it was an enjoyable time that was had by all. I would like to thank Steve Wellings, Andy Patterson, Rob Kelly for joining us today. Also, those super chatters as well. Fantastic. Everybody that hopped in the chat, we appreciate you very much. Sorry for not doing shout outs today. I knew I forgot something. Join us next week where we will review all of this action that we have previewed this week, as well as get in the front of some Japanese action the next week. Ooh. Is it boxing or is it hentai? Find out next Sunday on the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse. I've been your host, Matt DiGianardo. Take care.
We'll never forget.
Yeah, I think that's good happening.
Go to and move!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch.
I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year aim. 7-year aim.
I will fucking smash fucking you. I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love Boxing Asylum. It's as simple as that.